Chapter 243. 5 Human Kings. Yoyu, Yang, Dating, Dahong, and Dali. These 5 have inherited the destiny of the human race. They are all talents of the human race. I didn't expect them to become human kings. As the human emperor, Feng Zichen naturally sensed the birth of a human king immediately. The result was similar to what he had expected. The Khanate human race had been passed down for 9 generations. The leaders of each generation could be said to be outstanding. Unfortunately, those who were born extraordinary were bound to be accompanied by extraordinary tribulations. After a few tribulations, only 4 of the 9 leaders were left. They were Swearen, Dating, Dahong, and Dali. They were talents born from the destiny of the human race. Few humans could compare to them. If it weren't for the Yoyu and Yang who had made great contributions to the human race, the 2 of them might not be able to sit on the throne of human kings with the 3 of them. There's no hurry to become a human king. Let's create the human Dao imperial court first. Now that Feng Zichen couldn't find the time, the remaining 4 human kings would have to wait until the human Dao imperial court appeared before making a decision. With that thought, Feng Zichen took out the chaos bead, spread out the great Dao divine diagram, and activated the chaos formation. Immediately, the incense crystals on the ground surged toward the great Dao divine diagram. They merged with each other and gradually formed 4 huge walls without any gaps. Within the great Dao divine diagram, countless Khanate Dao patterns appeared and imprinted on the walls, constantly increasing the power of the walls. If he wanted the imperial court to float in the air, he needed a huge amount of energy to support it. If he wanted to protect the imperial court, he had to set up a Khanate formation. This also needed a huge amount of energy to support it. Using the chaos bead as the core to build the human Dao imperial court would undoubtedly solve all the problems. The chaos bead contained a chaos space. Its power was endless. It had no problem supporting the consumption of an imperial court. Not only that, using the chaos bead as the core to build a city was equivalent to building the imperial court directly on the chaos formation. It would save Feng Zichen the trouble of setting up the formation and designing the imperial court. The chaos formation was a formation created by the great Dao. It wasn't the result of the primitive world's heavenly Dao. It contained the mysteries of the great Dao. According to the direction of its array formation, the imperial court built could be said to be the most perfect and closest city in the primordial world. It was the best carrier to carry the human Dao. Although the incense divine Dao was born late, the incense power of will had existed for a long time. After the birth of the Khanate lifeforms, the power of incense and faith began to exist in the untainted land. It wasn't Feng Zichen who created the incense divine Dao that allowed the power of incense to exist. Instead, it was Feng Zichen who discovered the power of incense and faith and concluded the way to use it that created the incense divine Dao. The burning incense divine Dao had always existed. Even without Feng Zichen, it would naturally manifest in the world when the time was right. As for the power of faith that had existed since the birth of Xiantian lifeforms, it had long since lost its master. Now, they had completely benefited Feng Zichen. He had summoned them from all over the primordial world to build the human Dao imperial court. Rumble. Endless incense power surged in from all directions and was refined by Xianhua, turning into incense fire crystals that fused into the walls around them. This caused the embryonic form of a huge city to gradually appear on the great Dao divine diagram. As Feng Zichen became Daluo Jingxian, Xian Qing's body also changed. Kunlun Mountain, in a nameless valley hidden among the peaks. On this day, a bright green light suddenly erupted. Endless runes shone and rushed into the 9 layers of clouds, shaking the heavens and the earth. Haha! My Dao has been completed. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure shrouded in immortal light slowly rose from the depths of the valley. Hundreds of millions of immortal phantoms appeared and surrounded him in the center. This person was Xian Qing. After Feng Zichen broke through to Daluo Jingxian, under the sensing of his aura, Xian Qing was also about to take the crucial step to transcend the long river of fate and become Daluo Jingxian. Vast immortal light rose from Qianqing's body and turned into endless innate clear qi that kept flowing behind him. Heavenly domain, open. Qianqing's face was solemn. He formed a seal with his hand and drew a stroke at the innate clear qi behind him. The aura of the great Tao spread out from his hand and produced endless runes that swept toward the innate clear qi. Rumble. The innate clear qi was completely boiling. It was rolling violently and destroying the endless wind and clouds. And wherever the innate runes passed, it was as if heaven and earth were being split open, causing the innate clear qi to continuously divide and give birth to layers of heavenly domains. The heavenly domains were tangible but immaterial. One layer after another, there were a total of 36 layers. They spread up along the endless void and came to the deepest part of the void, a mysterious and unpredictable place. There was a long river that seemed real and illusory. It was vast and boundless, flowing quietly forward forever. It was the long river of fate. The 36 heavens formed from the connate clear qi actually fused with the boundless void and arrived at the location of the river of destiny. It was like a celestial realm that had existed since time immemorial. It stood towering above it and overlooked the changes of destiny. Ha! With a laugh, Qianqing stepped into the heavenly domain and walked up layer by layer. And as he ascended to a higher level of the heavenly domain, the aura on his body became stronger. The moment Qianqing ascended to the 36-layer heavenly domain, a ray of light suddenly rushed out from the long river of fate and merged with him. It made his aura reach an unprecedented peak, and he officially stepped into the realm of Daluo. The light that flew out from the long river of fate was Qianqing's light of fate. It flew out, indicating that Qianqing had transcended the long river of fate and achieved Daluo Jingxian. There was no need to fight for the great Tao because there was no one to prove the Tao of the innate clear spirit other than the three pure ones. Qianqing was the successor of Taoist Shangqing, so why would the three pure ones make things difficult for him? As long as he reached a certain level, proving the Tao was easy. At this moment, the Tao of the innate clear spirit manifested in the world and merged with Qianqing, causing him to sublimate and become the carrier of the Tao, immortal and indestructible. Qianqing was an innate divine demon that was completely born from the origin of the innate clear spirit. He was purer than the three pure ones. He was a natural carrier of the Tao of the innate clear spirit. Therefore, in just an instant, he completed his transformation, perfectly controlling his own power and stabilizing his realm. It was so simple for an innate divine demon to prove the Tao of the Daluo Jingxian. Qianqing proved the Tao, and as the heaven realm that originated from the same source as him, it naturally had a reaction. The origin of the heaven realm fell from the 9 heavens, and with the joy of the heaven realm, it poured into Qianqing's body. An innate divine demon that originated from the same source as the heaven realm? The first disciple of the three pure ones, the first person of the 3rd generation of Xianmen, interesting. The changes in the heaven realm naturally attracted Di Jun's attention. He too and the Book of Luo trembled slightly, and he understood the cause and effect. Bai Zai, go to the treasury of the heaven realm and get a pot of 3 light holy water. Help me give it to Taoist Shangqing's disciple, Taoist Qianqing, to congratulate him on proving the Tao of the Daluo Jingxian. After thinking, Di Jun said. Chapter 244. The connate clear qi was born with great karma with the heaven realm. If he showed his goodwill now, he might become a great help to the heavenly court in the future. If his disciple was in danger, how could Taoist Shangqing, as his master, not do anything? The three pure ones had always been one. Since Taoist Shangqing took action, the other pure ones and pure ones would definitely take action. In this way, the heavenly court would have 3 more saints to help them. Wouldn't that be a great thing? With this thought in mind, Di Jun made such a decision. One had to know that the pot of triple brilliance holy water that Di Jun mentioned was not an ordinary pot. How could a pot used by a great medium be the same as an ordinary pot? That pot was at least the size of a pond, maybe even bigger. Triple brilliance holy water was formed by the 3 lights of the sun, moon, and stars. It was one of the 10 great connate holy waters of the eldritch world. The value of a pond of connate holy water was no less than a superior grade connate spiritual treasure. Only Di Jun, who possessed the heavenly cycle of stars, could be so extravagant. A pond of triple brilliance holy water was given away as a gift without a care. How generous! Yes, Your Majesty. Although he was confused about who Daoist Xianqing was, Baizé did not hesitate to accept the order after hearing Di Jun's order. With the integration of the heaven realm's origin, the 36 heavens under Xianqing's feet underwent a miraculous change. In the heavens, connate Tao patterns were born. They contained an inexplicable power, causing the space in the heavens to gradually have a sense of reality. Then, the heavenly palace appeared. It was beautiful and emitted an inexplicable Tao rhythm, covering the layers of heavens. Rumble. The 36 heavens suddenly shrunk and turned into a Tao seal surrounded by immortal light, falling into Xianqing's hand. 36 heavenly Tao scriptures, Feng Zichen muttered to himself as he played with the Tao seal in his hand. With the support of the heaven realm's origin, the 36 heavens underwent a tremendous change. It turned from a vision into a connate Tao scripture. This connate Tao scripture recorded the evolution of the connate clear qi. It could evolve the 36 heavens and explain the connate clear spirit Tao. Every time he deepened his understanding of the innate clear spirit Tao, he would be able to evolve a layer of heavenly domain. When all 36 heavenly domains appeared, he would be able to fully comprehend the Tao of innate clear spirit and become Daluo Jingxian. Moreover, each level of the celestial domain contained an innate divine ability with incredible power. Unfortunately, the source of the heaven realm was limited. Being able to evolve the innate Tao scripture was already the limit. These 36 innate divine abilities only had enough time to nurture a prototype before the origin of the heaven realm was exhausted. In other words, the future achievements of these 36 congenital supernatural powers all depended on how far Xianqing could go and how far he could deduce them. Not only that, but the 36 heavens domain itself was also a supreme ability that possessed the power to suppress the heavens. After attaining great success, it would be as if the entire primitive celestial realm was pressing down on them. How many people in the world would be able to stop it? Clear qi and turbid qi are indeed the foundation of the great desolate world. Using these two Taos, not only can one obtain the favor of the world, but there are also many unknown benefits. Putting away the seal, Xianqing sighed. Being of the same origin as the world, one's birth was naturally incomparably noble and could share the fate of the world. As long as one did not court death, one could live freely without any disasters. Moreover, with the advancement of the world, it was not impossible for the origin Tao fruit to be formed. The benefits were beyond imagination. Primitive world. Birth is really too important. A bad birth may not mean that one has nothing, but a good birth definitely has everything. Throughout the history of the primitive world, those who could be active in the primitive world were all innate divine demons, without exception. Compared to Feng Zichen, one would know. Xianqing's path to Tao validation was too smooth, almost smooth sailing. But Feng Zichen was different. Every step on the path to Tao validation was extremely dangerous. If it were not for Pangu's favor, he would have died long ago. The gap was too big. But fortunately, everything was different now. Feng Zichen was also an innate divine demon, and a top innate saint, Pangu's orthodox. He was a true proud son of heaven. Speaking of which, Feng Zichen's current situation was that he had changed his destiny with his own strength, which was the most in line with the concept of man conquering nature. If he was not born in the wrong era, the position of the sacred emperor of the human Tao would belong to him. It was also because of this that the human Tao favored him so much. Otherwise, did he really think that with the power of all spirits, he could summon the help of the human Tao at will? There were many mighty figures in the primitive world. If it was so easy to summon the power of the human Tao, the flower of human Tao would not be so rare. At the end of the day, it was because the human race thought highly of Feng Zichen that they helped him again and again. If it were others, they would not have such good treatment. It's time to return to the Jade Void Palace. After calculating the time, Xianqing collected his thoughts and turned to walk towards the Jade Void Palace. There, the three pure ones were still waiting for him. As the first disciple of the third generation of the celestial sect of wonders, Enchanting had proven his Dao Jinxian. It was a big deal that the celestial sect of wonders had a successor. The three pure ones deliberately put down the matters in their hands and gathered in the Jade Void Palace, waiting for Enchanting to pay his respects. Great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure, give me your life. On the way to the Jade Void Palace, Enchanting suddenly heard a voice that was filled with killing intent. His expression changed and he hurriedly rushed in the direction of the voice. At the foot of Kunlun Mountain, Zhao Gongming was holding the Kunwu sword and leading a group of outer sect disciples of the Jie school to attack the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure. As the eldest outer sect disciple of the Jie school, he could not weaken the reputation of the Jie school. Therefore, the Grand Master of Heaven gave the superior grade Connate Spirit Treasure, the Kunwu sword, to Zhao Gongming. Originally, the Dharma treasure that the Grand Master of Heaven gave him should be the supreme grade Connate Spirit Treasure, the Sea-calming Divine Pearl. However, the Grand Master of Heaven had already given this Dharma treasure to Enchanting. Therefore, the Grand Master of Heaven gave Zhao Gongming the Connate Spirit Sword, which was not inferior to a supreme grade Connate Spirit Treasure, the Kunwu sword. However, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure was also extraordinary. He held the superior grade Connate Spirit Treasure, the Dragon Tiger Seal, in one hand and the middle grade Connate Spirit Treasure, the Demon Subduing Sword, in the other. He fought with the disciples of the Jie school very well. After a long battle, Zhao Gongming was furious. He took out the Kunwu sword and attacked the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure. The Connate Spirit Sword abandoned all defense and focused on the power of killing. Therefore, it was extremely powerful. In addition, Zhao Gongming suddenly attacked without any warning. For a moment, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure was in danger. Stop! Enchanting saw this scene as soon as he arrived. His face turned cold and he shouted sternly. At the same time, he waved his sleeve and the Connate clear chi rushed out, sweeping everyone present into the air and throwing them to the ground. As a result, although everyone was fine, they lost a lot of face and lay on the ground in a sorry state. Greetings, eldest senior brother. Seeing that the person who came was Enchanting, everyone quickly got up from the ground. They didn't dare to argue and greeted him. Chapter 245. All right. You're all promising. The senior and junior brothers of the same lineage actually fought to the point of fighting each other. Moreover, it's at the foot of Kunlun Mountain, you're really capable. As he spoke, Enchanting pointed at everyone and scolded sternly, do you still have master and uncle masters in your hearts? Do you still have any feelings for them? As long as there is any friendship in their hearts, why would they do such a thing that would hurt their loved ones and make their enemies happy? The current three pure ones had yet to split up. They were a family. If the disciples of Jie school and Chan school were to engage in a life and death battle at the foot of Kunlun Mountain, wouldn't they become the joke of the primordial world? Eldest senior brother, we treat them as our senior and junior brothers, but they might not think highly of us. Perhaps they might even think that we're climbing up the social ladder. At that moment, Zhao Gongming calmed down and said indignantly. There were all kinds of disciples in Jie school. There were Connate god fiends from the top of the primordial world, as well as Connate life forms with feathers and feathers. There were many kinds of them. Connate god fiends were still alright and came from noble backgrounds. However, Connate life forms came from humble backgrounds and were not liked by the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning. In addition, their bad habits had not disappeared. Ever since they arrived at Kunlun Mountain, they would gather together to drink and have fun or play in the mountains. The spiritual beasts of Kunlun Mountain suffered and were satisfied by their appetites. They stirred up the Kunlun Mountain into a mess and completely messed up the peace of the place. Even the Grand Pure One was a little unhappy. The disciples of Chan school were different. They were carefully selected by the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning. The 12 personal disciples and 2 in-name disciples were all Connate god fiends. They were extremely noble and were favored by him. Enchanting did not know how much the disciples of Chan school had learned from the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning. However, They had learned most of the personality and style of the heavenly lord of primordial beginning. Therefore, they were disdainful of the disciples of Jie's school. However, the disciples of the two sects often had conflicts, but it had never been like today. Both sides wanted to kill each other. That was also the reason why Xianqing was angry. Shut up. What are you saying? We're all fellow apprentices. There's only the difference of seniority. There's no such thing as high or low. Today, you and the others at the foot of Kunlun Mountain recklessly used your weapons and violated the sect's rules. The poor way will punish you to go into seclusion in the Immortals' Cave and reflect on your mistakes. You are not allowed to come out for 1,000 years. Then, Xianqing asked them, so, are you convinced? There were many disciples in Jie's school. The Grand Master of Heaven could not take care of every disciple. Therefore, other than the personal disciples, all the outer sect disciples were handed over to Xianqing to manage. We will obey eldest senior brother's orders. With this reason, Zhao Gongming and the others did not dare to talk back to Xianqing. They quickly bowed to him and left. Soon, only Xianqing and the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure were left. What's the matter? Do you have something to say, Ling Bao? Seeing that the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure did not leave, Xianqing said unhappily. Eldest senior brother, I refuse to accept this. It was clearly your Jie school disciples who attacked first. Why do I have to be punished as well? Besides, you are a member of Jie school, and I am a member of Chan's school. Even if you want to punish me, it should be up to master. What kind of logic is it for you to punish me? The great Taoist master Numinous Treasure cupped his hands and said unwillingly. What he meant was, you are a disciple of Jie school. What right do you have to punish a disciple of Chan's school? The pride of a disciple of a saint was undoubtedly displayed on him. The poor way can't punish you? Very good, great Taoist master Numinous Treasure, you are really good. At this moment, Xianqing was about to explode. If they treated him like this, one could imagine what kind of attitude the disciples of Chan's school usually had towards the disciples of Jie's school. He was afraid that he would directly vent out the words of putting on hair and feathers, wet and oviparous. In that case, not to mention the disciples of Jie's school, even anyone in the primordial world could suffer such a great humiliation and not be angry? No wonder Zhao Gongming and the others had killing intent. If this happened to Xianqing, he would not be able to tolerate it. In addition, the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure's name was similar to the Grand Master of Heavens. No matter how the disciples of Jie's school treated him, it would not be surprising. The poor way wants to see today. If I punish you, will second Uncle Master punish me or punish you? Furious, Xianqing reached out and grabbed the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. Great Taoist master Numinous Treasure, you are disrespectful to the poor way. The poor way wants to seal you under the Qilin cliff for 10,000 years as punishment. Under Xianqing's hand, the surrounding Khanate Qi swarmed over and wrapped around the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. No matter how much strength he used, the dragon tiger seal and the demon subduing sword could not break free at all. They could only obediently be captured. Fellow Taoist, stop. Just as Xianqing was about to take down the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure, a voice sounded from afar. At the same time, a pale green ruler suddenly appeared and shattered Xianqing's seal, wanting to take away the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. Get lost. Xianqing's eyes turned cold. He did not care who it was. He flipped his hand and threw out a Tao seal. It evolved into the 36 heavenly domains in the air. It was like an eternal heavenly realm that enveloped the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. It was the supreme mystical ability that he had just obtained, the 36 heavenly palaces. Today, Xianqing was determined to teach the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure a lesson. Unless the three pure ones came personally, it would be useless. Under the 36 heavenly domains, the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure felt that the future was dark when he sensed the vast heavenly might. All his paths of survival had been cut off. All his vitality was about to be wiped out. He was bound to die. He could not help but tremble in shock. He could not help but shout, "Teacher, save me!" Clearly, he recognized the identity of the person who came. In Kunlun, there was only one person who could be addressed that way by the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. He was the deputy sect master of Chan School, one of the 3,000 guests of the Purple Cloud Palace, Taoist Randang. "Fellow Taoist, please calm down. You are already the Daluo Taoist priests. You are high and mighty. Why do you have to be calculative with the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure?" After his background was exposed, Randang could not hide anymore. He immediately walked out of the void and persuaded Xianqing. On the other hand, when Randang saw that Xianqing had verified his Daluo Jingxian, he wanted to congratulate him. However, who knew that halfway there, he would see the disciples of the Jie school and Chan school fighting? That was a common occurrence in Kunlun. The saint did not care, and Randang did not want to cause trouble. Only Xianqing was in seclusion all year round and did not know much about that. He originally wanted to take a detour, but who knew that the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure would be so ungrateful and talk back to Xianqing. Xianqing was angered and wanted to suppress him. This time, Taoist Randang was anxious. The great Taoist master Numinous Treasure was suppressed by Xianqing, but he did not help. If the heavenly lord of primordial beginning found out, with his personality, he would hate him. Chapter 246. Xianqing was the first disciple of the three pure ones. The great Taoist master Numinous Treasure was disrespectful to him and dared to talk back to him. In the end, he was suppressed by him. Even if Heavenly Lord Yuancher knew about this, he would not punish Xianqing. On the contrary, he would reward him and reprimand the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. He would blame him for not knowing how to respect his elders and stand up for Xianqing. The Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning valued etiquette the most. The great Taoist master Numinous Treasure's actions thought that he had increased the prestige of Chan School, but in fact, he had deeply angered the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning. Otherwise, with such a commotion here, how could the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning, who loved his disciple, not help? It was all because the actions of the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure had angered him. He had used Xianqing to teach him a lesson. Furthermore, when this matter was over, the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure would definitely be reprimanded when he returned to the Jade Void Palace. However, that was the treatment of Xianqing and had nothing to do with Taoist Randang. This matter had caused the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning to lose face. He must have a belly full of anger to vent. If Randang did not help, wouldn't that give him a reason to vent? As the deputy sect master of Chan School, what's the use of watching from the side when a disciple of Chan School appears? Thinking of the adverse effects of this matter on him, Taoist Randang took action. That was why the scene just now happened. "Uncle Master, you're making things difficult for me. You're a senior, so how can you call me fellow Taoist? Just call me Xianqing." He waved his hand at Taoist Randang. Xianqing did not dare to accept his title of fellow Taoist. No matter what, Taoist Randang was an existence that listened to the Tao in the Purple Cloud Palace with the three pure ones. Even if he was doing a little poorly now, he was still a Taoist of the Celestial Sect of Wonders and an elder of the Xianqing. Even the Heavenly Lord Yuancher addressed him as a fellow Taoist. Xianqing could not mess up the seniority. Then the poor way will drag it out and call you Xianqing. Taoist Randang was very satisfied with Xianqing's attitude. As the saying goes, the more you lack something, the more you care about it. Because Burning Lamp Taoist could not break through to the Sage-to-Be realm for a long time, he went to Kunlun Mountain to worship Heavenly Lord Yuancher as his teacher when he opened the mountain to accept disciples. He asked for the help of the sage to break through. But Heavenly Lord Yuancher did not dare to accept him as a disciple. Who was Taoist Randang? The Khanate god fiend was born. He had once heard of the Tao in the Purple Cloud Palace. Although he was not the Tao ancestor's disciple in name, they were master and disciple. Even if he met the Tao ancestor, he could call him teacher. He was already considered a disciple of the Tao ancestor. Anyone who saw him would have to call him fellow Taoist. If the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning accepted him as his disciple, what would happen to the Tao ancestor? What about the fellow Taoists of the Purple Cloud Palace? However, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning couldn't chase him out when he begged so hard in the past. In the end, he gave Taoist Randang the position of Deputy Sect Master because they had listened to the Tao together in the past. In this way, he could be above all the disciples and not lose his identity. He could also let him listen to the preaching together with his disciples and achieve his purpose of coming to Kunlun Mountain. It could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. He obviously didn't want to agree, but because of his face, he couldn't say anything to refuse. Thinking about it, it was really difficult for Lord of Heaven Yuanshi. The way the primeval Lord of Heaven handled this matter could be said to be perfect, leaving people completely speechless. However, Taoist Randang's reputation was ruined. Such a shameless act made all the great mystical abilities feel deeply ashamed. Taoist Randang had completely become the target of contempt for the mighty figures of the primordial world. That made him a little embarrassed to see others. It also made him extremely sensitive to matters related to his reputation. Xian Qing's praise of him could be said to have scratched his itch. How could Taoist Randang not be happy? It's his fault that the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure offended you. It's only right for you to teach him a lesson. No one can say anything. However, it's a little too much for you to suppress him under the Qilin Cliff for 10,000 years. Xian Qing, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure, is ultimately your junior brother, the direct disciple of Saint Yuqing. For the sake of the saint's reputation, you should be merciful. Seeing that Xian Qing's emotions had calmed down, Taoist Randang continued to persuade him. Xian Qing was a little moved by these words, and his anger gradually subsided. Numinous Treasure, you're so presumptuous. Xian Qing is your eldest senior brother. It's fine if you don't respect him, but you actually dare to speak rudely to him. Have you ever taken the teachings that Taoist brother has given you to heart? Do you still have any respect for seniority in your eyes? What a bastard. Aren't you going to apologize to your eldest senior brother? At that moment, Taoist Randang suddenly glared at the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure and scolded him fiercely. Eldest senior brother, Numinous Treasure was bewitched. That's why he spoke rudely to you. I know I was wrong. Please, for the sake of Master, spare me this time. After receiving Taoist Randang's reminder, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure hurriedly begged Xian Qing for mercy. He no longer had the arrogance from before. Ever since Taoist Randang learned that Xian Qing had already verified the Tao of Daluo Jingxian, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure knew that he was most likely in trouble this time. The Daluo could not be humiliated easily. That was definitely not empty words in the primordial world. As long as the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure did not become the Daluo Jingxian, he had to maintain enough respect when facing the real Daluo Jingxian. Even if he was the disciple of a saint, he was no exception. Otherwise, even if the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure was taught a lesson, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning could not say anything. He was already like that when facing outsiders, let alone Daluo Jingxian, who was in front of him, who was his eldest senior brother. The great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure had already imagined his master's furious expression when he found out about this. He could not help but feel regretful and felt that he should not have been too arrogant. Unfortunately, it was too late to regret now. He only hoped that Teacher Randang's pleas would work. Lowering his head, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure thought silently. He had no choice in this situation. Taoist Randang was his only hope. Although Xian Qing's Tao verification caused a huge commotion, what kind of place was Kunlun Mountain? The ancestral meridian of the east, the second famous mountain of the primordial world, was protected by a supreme array formation. Therefore, the phenomenon of Xian Qing's Tao verification was spontaneously concealed by Kunlun Mountain. If one's cultivation level was not Daluo Jingxian's, they would not be able to sense it. However, the great Taoist Master Numinous Treasure of Tai Jingxian naturally did not know. Otherwise, even if he went crazy, he would not dare to speak rudely to Xian Qing. Uncle Master is right. Then Qianqing will follow Uncle Master's instructions and punish him leniently. Qianqing, who was already angry, saw that Randang had even prepared a way out for him, so he changed his words. Numinous Treasure spoke rudely to me. I'll punish him to go to Qilin Cliff and reflect on his mistakes for 1,000 years. Previously, the disciples of Jia school had already returned to their cave abodes to reflect on their mistakes for 1,000 years. To be fair, I'll punish Numinous Treasure for another 1,000 years. In that case, I'll let Numinous Treasure go to Qilin Cliff and reflect on his mistakes for 2,000 years. Uncle Master, what do you think? After saying the punishment for the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure, Qianqing turned to ask Taoist Randang, as if he was asking for his opinion. Chapter 247. Numinous Treasure spoke rudely to you, so he deserves to suffer. Moreover, it's good to let him suffer a little and remember this lesson. Taoist Randang smiled and said. Of course, he knew that Qianqing was not really asking for his opinion. It was just a polite greeting. Naturally, he would not speak out against it and make himself uncomfortable. Moreover, Qianqing's attitude was so respectful that he had no reason to object. What? 3,000 years. Hearing that he had to go to Qilin Cliff to meditate for 3,000 years, great Taoist master Numinous Treasure was in a bad mood. Qilin Cliff was not a good place to go. Zhu Lin was there to suppress the primordial land, so the connate turbid air gathered there and the space was abnormally heavy. It was very unfriendly to immortal cultivators. If he was not careful, he would be contaminated by the connate turbid air and his dharma power would be contaminated. This was undoubtedly a big trouble. Who knew how long it would take to get rid of it? Therefore, not to mention 3,000 years, even if it was 100 years, he did not want to go. If it was any other place, he would agree. But Qilin Cliff was absolutely impossible. Master, dissatisfied, great Taoist master Numinous Treasure opened his mouth to say something. He saw Taoist Randang wave his hand and send out a ray of light, sending him down the Qilin Cliff. Seeing the dissatisfaction on great Taoist master Numinous Treasure's face, Randang hurriedly suppressed him to prevent him from saying anything unwise and causing the situation to change. Qianqing, I think the three brothers are already waiting for you in the Jade Void Palace. You've been here for so long. It's time for you to leave so that they won't wait. After dealing with great Taoist master Numinous Treasure, Taoist Randang said to Qianqing. Uncle Master, Qianqing will take his leave first. Nodding, Qianqing stepped on the connate spirit cloud and rushed to the Jade Void Palace. Qianqing greets Master, Uncle Master, and Second Uncle Master. Stepping into the Jade Void Palace, Qianqing bowed to the three pure ones sitting at the top. Haha. Qianqing, you really didn't disappoint me. In just a few 100,000 years, you've proven your Tao as Daluo Jinxian. This kind of aptitude, even among the connate gods and demons, is considered top-notch. The one who was the happiest when Qianqing attained the Tao was none other than Tong Tian. Among all the disciples of the six sages, only one of his disciples had proved Daluo Jinxian. It could be said that this had greatly increased his reputation and showed that he had taught well. How could the prime of Tong Tian not be happy? Next were the true Lord of Morality and Nothingness and the primeval Lord of Heaven. Now, the three pure ones were still one. Qianqing was taught by the three of them together. He was Daluo Jinxian, and the two of them were proud of him. Come, Qianqing, take this. Waving at Qianqing, Tong Tian took out a green lotus seed. The lotus seed wasn't big, but it was verdant and exuded dazzling divine light of creation. It was not the usual white color, but the rarely seen green color. It was extremely mystical. Master, this is? Holding the lotus seed in his hand, Qianqing could not help but feel surprised when he felt the creation chi contained within it. This creation chi was a bit too much. At this moment, Qianqing had a feeling that even the white lotus seed of purification that he gave Ao Shui and the black lotus seed of destruction in his hand were not as precious as the green lotus seed in front of him. But how could this be? The white lotus seed of purification was born from the creation of heaven and earth, and the black lotus seed of destruction was born from the origin of the upper-grade primordial spiritual root. Both of them were treasures that were hard to find in the untainted land. They were not inferior to upper-grade primordial spiritual treasures, and even surpassed them. Xianqing really could not think of a lotus seed that was more powerful than them. The 4 great lotus seeds were already the most powerful in the untainted land. There were no more lotus seeds in the untainted land that were more powerful than them. Who produced this lotus seed? It could not be the green lotus of creation, right? This is a primordial treasure, the lotus seed produced by the 24th grade green lotus of creation. It is shared by the 3 of us. Now that you have attained Daluo Jingxian, I'll give this to you. While Xianqing was puzzled, he heard sect leader Tong Tian say slowly. His body trembled and he was speechless for a long time. It was really the lotus seed produced by the green lotus of creation. No wonder it was so magical and far surpassed the lotus seed produced by the 4 great lotus seeds. Not long after the end of the ancient times, I traveled the untainted land with your 2 uncle masters. On Mount Buzhou, we accidentally found the primordial treasure, the 24th grade green lotus of creation. At that time, under the influence of the way of heaven, the green lotus of creation turned into 3 primordial spiritual treasures. They are my Qingping sword, your uncle master's dragon head walking stick, and your second uncle master's 3 precious jade rui scepter. To show that the 3 pure ones were originally one family. Although the green lotus of creation disappeared, the lotus seed that it had produced previously remained and was kept by the 3 of us. Sect leader Tong Tian pointed at the lotus seed in Xianqing's hand and introduced it. The green lotus of creation produces a lotus seed, which means inheritance. The 3 pure ones accepting Xianqing also means inheritance. Today, passing the green lotus of creation to you is to announce to the world that you, Xianqing, are the most orthodox successor of the 3 pure ones and can inherit their mantle. At this moment, Tai Qing and Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning spoke to Xianqing one after another, explaining to him the meaning of passing down the green lotus of creation. Yes, the green lotus of creation was the child of the green lotus of creation. As a disciple personally taught by the 3 pure ones, Xianqing was of the same origin as them. Wasn't he equivalent to their child? The green lotus of creation belonged to the 3 pure ones, and the green lotus of creation belonged to Xianqing. The 4 of them were one, and they were of the same origin. It meant that the 4 of them were one, and the inheritance was orderly. They all had the green lotus of creation. Buzz. 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 After Xianqing accepted the green lotus of creation, the dragon head walking stick in Taiqing's hand, the 3 precious jade rui scepter in Yuqing's hand, and the Qingping sword in Shangqing's hand suddenly vibrated. Then, the green lotus of creation in Xianqing's hand also began to vibrate inexplicably. In the end, the 4 spiritual treasures emitted a green light one after another and merged into one in the air, forming a green lotus. There were jade roots, green leaves, and a green lotus. It was 24 grades, and there was a lotus seed in it. It was the connate cardinal treasure, the 24-grade green lotus of creation. Of course, this was not the real green lotus of creation. It had already shattered and turned into the 4 treasures in the hall. What was manifesting now was the fate of the green lotus of creation. The combination of the 4 treasures was equivalent to the rebirth of the green lotus of creation. Now that the 4 treasures were gathered together, their connate origins attracted each other and produced a resonance, causing a strange change. In the unseen world, it summoned the fate of the green lotus of creation. Poof, the fate of the green lotus of creation came and went quickly. In just an instant, it shattered and turned into 4 parts, falling into the Dharma treasures in the hands of the 4 people. For a moment, the 4 Dharma treasures shone brightly, emitting a bright Tao light. Tao sounds resounded, and the great Tao surrounded them. Connate Tao runes circulated, creating thousands of phenomena. There was also the qi of creation coming from the void, filling the entire hall. After a long time, the many phenomena slowly dissipated, and the hall returned to normal. Chapter 248. At that moment, Xianqing looked at the lotus seed in his hand again and felt that it was different from before. However, he could not tell what was different. Helplessly, he looked at the three pure ones with a puzzled gaze. Oh. I didn't expect there to be such a change when the four treasures are gathered. After sizing up the dragon-headed walking stick in his hand for a while, the Grand Pure One said slowly, Father stepped on the Chaos Green Lotus and opened the sky. The birth of the primordial world absorbed a lot of the origin of the Chaos Green Lotus. Therefore, the Creation Green Lotus that has inherited the origin of the Chaos Green Lotus is also one of the heaven-opening treasures. It has great power and luck. Unfortunately, before the Creation Green Lotus was fully nurtured, it was broken down by the three of us, causing the heaven-opening luck to be lost. It's also because of fate. Today, the four treasures are gathered and resonated. It has re-evolved the aura of the Khanate Cardinal Treasure, the Creation Green Lotus, causing the Khanate luck that it lacked to descend from the netherworld. The four treasures have obtained this trace of luck and turned into heaven-opening spiritual treasures. Many changes have occurred, but the poor way can't tell what kind of changes they are. You still have to figure it out yourself. Those words were obviously directed at Xianqing. After all, the three pure ones were saints. They could know the cause and effect with just a thought. However, Xianqing did not have that ability. Sigh, this heaven-opening luck came a little late. If it had descended before we attained the Tao, it might have saved us a lot of trouble. However, now that it has descended, we have already become saints. The effect it can have is negligible. This luck is no longer of much use. Seeing the heaven-opening luck, the heavenly lord of primordial beginning seemed to have thought of some past events. He could not help but sigh and sigh. Although the heaven-opening luck was extraordinary, after the Creation Green Lotus was shattered, a lot of the heaven-opening luck contained in it had scattered. There was not much left. Moreover, after descending here, the heaven-opening luck that was not much to begin with was divided into four. In that case, the four of them did not obtain much luck. Saints were superior to everything. Unless it was like the three heaven-opening treasures, which carried incomparable heaven-opening luck, it would be of help to them. A trace of heaven-opening luck was far from enough. However, this luck is useless to us, but it is of great use to you, Xianqing. The Grand Pure One smiled and suddenly said. Then, he pointed at the dragon-head walking stick in his hand, and a misty green light flew out and fell into the green lotus seed in Xianqing's hand. It was the green lotus of creation that hung down to open the heavens' luck. That's right. Eldest senior brother's words are reasonable. Nodding, the primeval lord of heaven and the sect leader of Tongtian injected the heaven luck from their spiritual treasures into the green lotus seed. At that moment, the green lotus seed in Xianqing's hand glowed with spiritual light. The chi of creation surged and stirred the rules of heaven and earth. It gave birth to all kinds of auspicious signs that were dazzling. With this heaven-opening providence, you can expect to have a primordial chaos future. Xianqing, quickly thank your two martial uncles. Tongtian said to Xianqing excitedly. Xianqing thanks master and martial uncle. Xianqing was extremely touched by the three pure ones' actions. He couldn't help but bow to the three of them. He was ashamed to receive such kindness. The Tao of karmic luck was the most mysterious. With great karmic luck, it was as if the heavens were helping him. He could turn misfortune into luck and misfortune into auspiciousness. He would have endless opportunities. No matter what he did, he would not die. As for the loss of karmic luck, even a powerful person would be in danger of dying, such as Di Jun and Tai. Even a saint would end up in a miserable state if he lost his karmic luck, such as the sect leader of Tongtian after he became a god. The heaven-opening providence was the most special kind of karmic luck in the primordial world. It was bestowed by the great Tao and was not born in the primordial world itself. With this luck, even if he went to the great chaos outside the realm, he would be able to obtain opportunities and not encounter danger. This was a sign of the great Tao's favor. In this way, would the primordial chaos Tao realm be far away? Tai could look down on all the heroes and stand out among the powerful people, becoming the number one expert in the primordial world before the saints. In addition to his own efforts, it was also related to the heaven-opening providence on the Bell of Chaos. The three pure ones could even give such a treasure to Xianqing without hesitation. Obviously, they really treated him as their successor. This was a treatment that other disciples could not enjoy. From this, it could be seen how much the three pure ones loved Xianqing. All right. Don't be such a little girl. Come forward. The poor Wei has something to tell you. Seeing that Xianqing did not get up, the Grand Pure One casually lifted him up and let him speak. What instructions does Uncle Master have? I will do my best to complete it. Xianqing walked in front of the Grand Pure One and solemnly promised. This matter concerns the inheritance of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. It has to be you. As he spoke, the Grand Pure One's expression became serious. The Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning and the sect leader of Tongtian were the same. The inheritance of the Celestial Sect of Wonders? This time, Xianqing really did not understand. How could a Daluo Jingxian help with the inheritance of the Celestial Sect of Wonders? Even if the saints could not help, they should at least find a powerful person, right? Take this. The Grand Pure One flipped his hand and took out a purple rope and handed it to Xianqing. This is, after taking the rope, Xianqing was puzzled but also moved. This purple rope was a superior grade connate spirit treasure. Although it was precious, it was nothing to Xianqing, who had many Dharma treasures. What really moved him was the three connate Dao seals that were imprinted on the rope and surrounded by green light. Above the Dao seals, connate clear qi filled the air. Countless connate runes were born and destroyed within it. There was also the power of origin mysterious qi surging, deducing the changes of the universe and the operation of heaven and earth. This was the three pure Dao seal. In the primordial world, only the three pure ones could control the power of origin mysterious qi. This was a gift from the primordial world to them, and it was also the three strongest karmic positions in the universe. The three qi of origin mysterious qi were the origin qi of the universe and could evolve everything in the world. The three pure ones held this karmic position, which was the sect of the gods and the ancestor of creation, to show their respect. Although this rope was only a superior grade connate spirit treasure, with the support of the three pure Dao seal, it could mobilize the power of the universe and had the ability to destroy everything. It was really hard to guess how powerful it was. This treasure is called the Immortal Binding Rope. Although it is only a superior grade connate spirit treasure, with the support of the three of us, its power is second only to connate cardinal treasures. Handing this treasure to you is to let you take the responsibility of supervising the third-generation disciples of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. In the future, when you travel in the primordial world, whenever you see a disciple of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, be ruthless, murderous, cruel, and unscrupulous, you can use this treasure to take them down. According to their merit and karma, you can either imprison or kill them, to protect the reputation of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. Hearing this, Xianqing's heart skipped a beat. The Grand Pure One had asked him to supervise the third-generation disciples of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. This wasn't a good job. Chapter 249. Among the third-generation disciples of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, the disciples of the Jie sect were the ones who had misbehaved and did not abide by the rules of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. In other words, if Xianqing accepted this task, the first to fall into his hands would most likely be his junior brothers. The realm of the saint was high and profound. He was one with the heavenly Tao. He might not care too much about those disciples who had negative karma. If they died, they died. However, Xianqing's realm was not as profound as that of a saint. He could not do anything to his junior brother. Moreover, even if he hardened his heart and dealt with a few of his junior brothers, what would others think? Wouldn't he be cutting himself off from Jie school? Moreover, the disciples of the Celestial Sect of Wonders were not limited to the successors of the three sections. This included the successors of the Western sect and the 3,000 mortal guests of the Purple Cloud Palace. They were all considered successors of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. If Xianqing touched their disciples, it would be terrible. Due to Xianqing's identity, the great mediums might say something on the surface. They might even praise Xianqing and thank him for cleaning up the mess for them. However, no one knew how they would plot against Xianqing in the dark. If my disciple makes a mistake, I will discipline him myself. Why do I need an outsider like you to meddle in my business and teach my disciple a lesson? What kind of logic was this? Behind closed doors, he could hit his own child however he liked. However, outsiders were not allowed to interfere. The great divine powers of the great desolate world were just that, tyrannical. Supervising the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders. There weren't many benefits to this job, but there were a lot of bad things. The better he did, the more people he would offend. If he didn't do it well, he would incur the displeasure of the three pure ones. No matter what he did, he could not do it well. If he could not satisfy everyone, he would definitely offend people. This was truly a tough job in the great desolate Aeon. Eldest martial uncle, Enchanting has only cultivated for a few 100,000 years. In the celestial sect of wonders, I have yet to make any contributions. How can I bear such a heavy responsibility? I hope that martial uncle will consider carefully and choose another talent. There are many immortal true immortals in the Xian sect. Among them, there are many who surpass Enchanting in terms of cultivation, character, and achievements. Among them, there must be someone who can fulfill uncle's conditions and take on this heavy responsibility. Enchanting bowed to the Grand Pure One and declined with his lack of qualifications. His goal was to return to the Three Immortal Island and be the ancestor of the itinerant immortals there, living a carefree life. And to sit in that position, not to mention offending people, just dealing with the karma that tainted one's body every day would take an unimaginable amount of time. It would completely lose the original intention of being free and unfettered. Enchanting was not stupid. He had a bright future ahead of him. How could he be interested in such a position of karma entanglement? Karma was what delayed cultivation the most. Enchanting's words were reasonable and convincing. However, what kind of person was the Grand Pure One? With a thought, he could find out the past and future. How could Enchanting's thoughts be hidden from him? He smiled and said, "You're quite crafty. However, this position belongs to none other than you." Then, without giving Enchanting a chance to answer, he continued. The celestial sect of wonders only has 4 direct disciples. Poor Wei, your master, your uncle master, and your uncle master Nuwa. The rest, such as Zhuan-Ti, Di Jun, Zenyuanzi, and Mingi, are all external disciples of the celestial sect of wonders. What qualifications do they and their disciples have to bear this heavy responsibility? Doesn't this mean that there is no direct disciple of the celestial sect of wonders? Therefore, the person who supervises the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders must be a direct disciple of the celestial sect of wonders. However, your uncle Master Nuwa has never established a sect, nor has she accepted any disciples. The only disciple is the leader of the human race. It's not suitable for her to interfere in the affairs of the celestial sect of wonders. After thinking about it, you're still the most suitable. You're the direct disciple of the celestial sect of wonders and the first disciple of the 3rd generation. Your cultivation has also reached the level of Daluo Jingxian. You're simply the chosen one. Although there were many disciples of the 3 pure ones, Enchanting was the only one who could win the hearts of the 3 at the same time. He was also the only one who had attained the Tao of Daluo Jingxian. In this way, who would be chosen if not him? Yes, Enchanting will obey Uncle Master's decree. Enchanting had no room to refuse and could only accept the order helplessly. Very good. You were born from the innate clear qi and are the most noble. You are the Taoist priests of the celestial path. Today, the Poor Way conferred you as the celestial lord of the celestial sect of wonders. You will hold the immortal binding rope and supervise all the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders. You can punish anyone who violates the rules of the celestial sect of wonders. You have to be fair and just. You can't act recklessly and cause trouble for your own power. The Tai Ching sage was the first direct disciple of Hong Jun, the first disciple of the celestial sect of wonders and the future leader of the celestial sect of wonders. In this era when Hong Jun Taoist was in seclusion, he was the nominal leader of the celestial sect of wonders. Therefore, conferring a celestial lord was nothing to him. As the Tai Ching sage's voice fell, the fate of the celestial sect of wonders in the unseen world sensed it. A streak of purple gas dropped down and turned into a karmic position of the heavens and earth, entering Xianqing's body. 9 Heavens Celestial Lord. This was the name of the karmic position of the heavens and earth, which was given to Xianqing by the fate of the celestial sect of wonders. From then on, he was the 9 Heavens Celestial Lord of the celestial sect of wonders, Taoist Xianqing. The 9 heavens were named after the same origin as the heaven realm. The celestial sovereign was the sovereign of the immortal Tao, the Daoyuo Taoist priests. This was the karmic rank of heaven and earth condensed by the fate of the Xian sect. The celestial sect of wonders, on the other hand, was the most powerful force in the untainted land. Even the combined forces of the shamans and demons might not be able to compete with it. After all, in name, the heavenly court also belonged to the celestial sect of wonders. Therefore, the moment the celestial prime karma rank was added, the 9 heaven celestial seal on Xianqing's body suddenly emitted a bright green light, and his aura rose steadily. It was the 9 heaven celestial seal that had received the help of the celestial sect's providence. It had broken through the limits of a superior grade connate spiritual treasure and was upgraded to a supreme grade connate spiritual treasure. The change in the fate of the Xian sect immediately attracted the attention of the relevant great powers. Monitoring the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders? That's not a bad idea. However, I don't have any disciples, so this matter has nothing to do with me. Instead, it's the fellow Taoists who have a lot of disciples who are going to have a headache. In Emperor Nvuo's palace, Nvuo just smiled and stopped paying attention to the matter. In the end, this matter did not affect him. Daoyuo Jingxian. I didn't expect the disciples of the 3 pure ones to have already proven their Tao and become Daoyuo Jingxian. As for our disciples, the strongest one is only at the late stage of Tai. He hasn't even touched the threshold of Daoyuo Jingxian. The East is really a place full of outstanding talents and treasures. It's enviable. On Mount Meru, the 2 saints, Jie Yin and Zhuan Ti, focused their attention on Xianqing's cultivation and couldn't help but say with some envy. Compared to the East, the West was too barren. Apart from the 2 of them, the number of innate gods and demons that were born was less than 5. It was really sad. As for monitoring the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders, the 2 saints didn't care. The Western sect valued the cultivation of the mind the most. They needed to constantly accumulate merit to ensure that their minds would not be invaded by external demons. Therefore, the current successors of the Western sect were all people with profound merit. They would definitely not violate the precepts of the celestial sect of wonders. Chapter 250. The 9 Heavens Immortal Venerables. What is that eldest senior brother trying to do? Why did he have to create an immortal venerables and supervise the disciples of the celestial sect of wonders? What an eventful time. Even the celestial sect of wonders has been affected. It seems that it's better to let the disciples go out less during this calamity. Although many great mystical abilities of the celestial sect of wonders were puzzled by the Grand Pure One's actions, it did not stop them from coming up with a countermeasure. Xianqing, go ahead. Below Kunlun Mountain, your opportunity has arrived. After the matter was settled, the Grand Pure One waved his hand and said to Xianqing. Opportunity? What opportunity? I often live in Kunlun Mountain and have no contact with the outside world. How can I have an opportunity? Although he was puzzled, with the Grand Pure One's realm, he would not speak without thinking. If he said that there was an opportunity, there must be an opportunity. With that thought in mind, Xianqing bowed to the 3 of them. Master, Uncle Master, since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. With that, Xianqing turned around and left the Jade Void Palace. However, just as he took a few steps, he heard the Grand Master of Heaven say, Xianqing, you should know that you are already Daoyuo Jingxian. The height you're at is different. Therefore, you have to think about the consequences of any decision you make. Don't regret it in the future. Remember, Daoyuo has no regrets. Xianqing stopped and turned around. He replied, Yes, Master. I'll remember it. Daoyuo had no regrets. He knew that. Daluo Jingxian had proven his Tao in the universe and was eternal and unique. Every action could leave a deep mark on the river of time and space. In the primordial world, because of Mount Buzhou, the river of time and space was extremely stable. No one could disturb it. Therefore, what Daluo Jingxian did was a permanent past. Regardless of whether it was right or wrong, it could not be changed. Once he did it, he could not regret it. That was Daluo had no regrets. Yes, just remember it. Don't cause trouble when you're outside, don't be afraid of trouble. I and your two uncle masters have always been behind you. Tong Tian nodded and said in an inexplicable tone. Master, did something happen? Sect leader Tongtian's words confused Xian Qing. He didn't know what was going on, so he couldn't help but ask. Nothing serious. Go quickly, don't let them wait for too long. The sect leader of Tong Tian urged, shaking his head. Then, all right. Xian Qing will leave now. Since Tong Tian didn't want to say more, Xian Qing didn't ask more. He bowed again and left the Jade Palace. This time, no one spoke to stop him. Senior brother, junior brother. Now that this matter is settled, I still have other matters to attend to, so I'll head back first. Not long after Xian Qing left, the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning said to the Grand Master of Heaven and the Grand Pure One beside him. Junior brother, just do what you have to do. There's no need to care about the poor way, the Grand Pure One replied. The Prime of Tong Tian nodded in agreement. Are you Taoist Xian Qing? As soon as he arrived at the foot of Kunlun Mountain, Xian Qing heard someone calling him. He couldn't help but look over. He saw a middle-aged man dressed as a scholar sizing him up with a smile. Looking at the person in front of him, Xian Qing's eyes narrowed slightly. This person was not simple. His aura was hidden, but it gave people a feeling of looking up at a tall mountain. What's more, Xian Qing actually felt a strong sense of danger from him. It was as if this person could bring him fatal danger. This person was Daluo Jingxian, the kind of Daluo who had reached the end of Daluo Jingxian's path and was about to break through to the quasi-saint realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given Xian Qing such a great sense of danger. It's the poor way. May I know who you are? Why have you come to Kunlun Mountain to look for me? Xian Qing nodded at the person and walked to his side. As for the danger, he wasn't worried at all. This was the foot of Kunlun Mountain, in front of the Three Saints Dojo. Unless Hongjun Taoist made a move, no one in the primordial world could hurt him at all. The path of wisdom? Who is this person? He's actually proficient in the path of wisdom. As he approached this person, Xian Qing felt the aura of the path of wisdom from this person. This aura was very faint, so faint that it was difficult to detect. If he didn't often come into contact with Zhang Xiong and Zhang Hui, the siblings who were the incarnations of the treasure of wisdom. He was extremely sensitive to the aura of the path of wisdom and almost missed it. This person was actually Daluo Jingxian who had attained the path of wisdom. It was really rare in the primordial world. Poor Wei, Baizhe of the demon clan, greets fellow Taoist Xian Qing. Baizhe smiled politely and said. Demon god Baizhe, so it was him. No wonder he could attain the path of wisdom. Baizhe was known to know astronomy and geography. He could see through the past and see the future. Good words reached the feelings of all things. This beast was extremely intelligent. It was a Khanate god-fiend born from the path of wisdom. It was the military advisor of the demon clan and ranked first among the top 10 demons. Its cultivation level was the limit of Daluo Jingxian. Its status in the demon clan was second only to the quasi-saint. However, Xian Qing and the demon clan didn't have any interaction. Why did Baizhe come to him? So it's demon god Baizhe. I'm sorry. I wonder why fellow Taoist came to Kunlun Mountain to look for Poor Wei. Poor Wei doesn't seem to be familiar with fellow Taoist or even the entire demon clan. After being polite for a while, Xian Qing asked directly. Fellow Taoist, there's no need to be confused. We've never met before. This is the first time we've met. Today, Poor Wei came to Kunlun Mountain on the orders of my Majesty to congratulate fellow Daoist on attaining the path of Daluo Jingxian. As he spoke, Bai Zhe took out a jade pot and was about to hand it to Xian Qing. Perhaps Bai Zhe didn't understand why Di Jun would be so concerned about a person he had never met before. He specially sent him to bring a pot of Songguang holy water to congratulate him. But the moment he saw Xian Qing, Bai Zhe understood everything. The person in front of him was surrounded by immortal light and emitted an aura that was no different from the origin of the heaven realm. The connate clear qi even seeped out of his body and turned into auspicious clouds that covered a radius of 10,000 miles. All kinds of phenomena were indicating Xian Qing's identity. He was a connate god-fiend born from the connate clear qi. With Bai Zhe's intelligence, when he recognized Xian Qing's identity, he naturally guessed Di Jun's plan. As Bai Zhe explained, all the heavenly secrets that had been hidden were revealed to Xian Qing at this moment, allowing him to understand the cause and effect of the matter. No wonder I couldn't deduce anything previously. It turns out that it involves the heavenly court. When the Grand Pure One said that his opportunity had arrived, Xian Qing had secretly deduced it. However, as far as his divine sense could see, the heavenly secrets were a vast expanse, and nothing could be divined. Now, he understood everything. The heavenly court had the connate cardinal treasure, the chaos bell, several powerful experts, and thousands of Daluo Jingxian. How could Xian Qing, a Daluo Jingxian, deduce it? Chapter 251. No wonder Master's tone was wrong and said a lot of inexplicable words. It turns out that he was afraid that I would be tempted to join the heavenly court and get involved in trouble. Master still doesn't understand me. The ancestor of itinerant immortals, being free and unfettered is my pursuit. Although the heavenly court is good, it is not a place for a free and unfettered person. Otherwise, with my background of the same origin as the heavenly realm, it would not be a problem for me to become the lord of the heavenly court. After understanding everything, Xian Qing pretended to be enlightened and said to Bai Zhe, "Your Majesty?" "So it's Uncle Master. I dare not refuse a gift from an elder. Since it was given by Uncle Master, Poor Wei will shamelessly accept it." As he spoke, Xian Qing took the jade pot from Bai Zhe and said, "I hope fellow Daoist can thank Uncle Master on behalf of Poor Wei. When the matter in Kunlun is over, Poor Wei will definitely go to the heavenly court and personally thank you." "It's okay, fellow Daoist, you're too polite." Bai Zhe waved his hand and said goodbye. The heavenly court is busy, and there are many secular matters waiting for Poor Wei to deal with. Since the gift has been given, Poor Wei will take his leave first. Poor Wei will wait for fellow Daoist's arrival in the heavenly court. After speaking, Bai Zhe did not wait for Xian Qing to persuade him to stay. He bowed and left Kunlun Mountain. A pot of triple light holy water, Di Jun is quite generous. After watching Bai Zhe leave, Xian Qing shook the jade pot in his hand and said with a smile. Di Jun did not lack triple light holy water, and neither did he. Moreover, he had a chaos spring that could continuously produce chaos spirit spring that was more precious than triple light holy water. Yuanshi Tianzuan had just returned to the Jade Clear Hall. Before he sat down, he saw Guang Qingzi running in anxiously. "Bastard! Why are you in such a panic? Do you still have the demeanor of an immortal?" Yuanshi Tianzuan's face immediately darkened and he scolded Guang Qingzi unhappily. "Master, please forgive me, I know my mistake." Realizing that he had lost his composure, Master Guangqing hurriedly stopped and carefully tidied himself up. After regaining his former composure, he walked slowly to the heavenly lord of the origin and bowed to him. Disciple Guang Qingzi greets Master. Seeing this, the primeval lord of heaven's expression eased. He nodded satisfactorily at Guang Qingzi and said, "Not bad. This is how the celestial Zhen of Xianmen should be." Then, he asked about the purpose of Guang Qingzi's visit. "Well, why have you come to visit me?" "Master, junior brother Ling Bao had a dispute with the disciples of Jie school and was suppressed under the Qilan cliff by Daoist Xian Qing. He couldn't escape. As for us disciples, our strength is truly too weak. Even after using all our means, we still couldn't save junior brother. Feeling extremely ashamed, we could only come here to beg Master to save junior brother and save him from the pain of being suppressed. With that said, Guangchengzi prostrated himself on the ground. His face was suffused with hatred, as though he was the one being suppressed and not the great Taoist master numinous treasure. After rescuing Ling Bao, do you still want to suppress Xianqing? So that he would know that the disciples of Jie's school couldn't afford to provoke the disciples of Chan's school. Hearing Guangchengzi's words, the primeval Lord of Heaven's expression gradually changed. He became expressionless. Then, he tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and tried his best to ask in a calm tone. Yes and no? Guangchengzi. Kneeling on the ground, Guangchengzi couldn't see the expression of the primeval Lord of Heaven. Hearing his words, he thought that his master was going to stand up for him and the others. He hurriedly said, yes, master is right. Taoist Xianqing, relying on his high cultivation, dared to bully the disciples of Chan's school. He deserves this retribution. It's best to suppress him under the Qilin cliff so that he can have a taste of what junior brother Ling Bao suffered. He had even thought about how to deal with Xianqing. After that, Guangchengzi seemed to feel that it wasn't enough to vent his anger. Guangchengzi continued, however, Xianqing has already proven his Dao as Daluo Jingxian. The primordial turbid air under the Qilin cliff may not be able to deal with him. Master, why don't you? Guangchengzi was venting his anger, but he didn't notice that the primeval Lord of Heaven's face was getting darker and darker, and his eyebrows were twitching violently. Obviously, he couldn't bear it anymore. Shut up. Bastard, Xianqing is your senior brother and Daluo Taoist priests. How can you call his name directly? Ling Bao disrespected his elders and spoke rudely to Xianqing. He asked for it by being suppressed under the Qilin cliff for 2,000 years. It's already a big mistake for you not to learn from it. How dare you instigate me to release Ling Bao to suppress Xianqing? You, how awe-inspiring. The primeval Lord of Heaven stood up from the futon and interrupted Guangchengzi's words. He pointed at him and scolded angrily. I know my mistake. Master, please calm down. The primeval Lord of Heaven's sudden anger frightened Guangchengzi and he kowtowed repeatedly. Humph, calm down. Did Ling Bao ask you to plead for mercy? The primeval Lord of Heaven snorted and asked. The saint still respected the privacy of his disciples. If it wasn't necessary, he would never calculate the information of his disciples. Therefore, the saint who was almost omnipotent and omniscient lost his composure when facing his disciple. No, I saw that junior brother was pitiful and specially came to plead with master. It has nothing to do with junior brother. Afraid of implicating others, Guangchengzi simply took all the responsibility on his own. This responsibility is a bit like the senior brother of the Chan school. The primeval Lord of Heaven was very satisfied with Guangchengzi's attitude. Even his anger dissipated. As the senior brother, he knew how to protect his junior brother. Anyone who saw him would praise him. If Guangchengzi pushed all the responsibility to his junior brother, it would be really disappointing. However, satisfaction was satisfaction, punishment was still punishment. Since you want to be a good person, I'll fulfill your wish. Pass my decree. Ling Bao spoke rudely and used weapons rashly. He committed a huge mistake. Therefore, he was suppressed under the Qilin cliff and could not appear for 10,000 years. Immortals, please take this as a warning. Good fellow, he directly added 8,000 years to the great Taoist master Ling Bao's sentence. It happened to be the deadline set by Xianqing in the beginning. After announcing the punishment of the great Taoist master Ling Bao, the primeval Lord of Heaven continued. Guangchengzi has no respect for his elders. He locked him in the wind thunder rock and suffered 1,000 years of thunder punishment. The other disciples don't think about cultivation. They only know how to argue all day and cause trouble. Therefore, I'll punish you to face the wall for 1,000 years. The other disciples of the Chan school who were waiting outside the hall could not help but look bitter when they heard that. They looked at each other and bowed towards the jade pure hall. Yes, master. After saying that, everyone returned to their cave abodes and faced the wall. Master, I'm going. In the Jade Pure Hall, Guangchengzi bowed and turned to leave. He went to the Wind Thunder Rock to be punished. Chapter 252. The Wind Thunder Rock was the place where the Khanate wind and thunder powers converged. It was a great land of creation in the primordial world. Although one had to be tortured by the 9 heavens astral wind and the Khanate divine thunder every day, there were opportunities in the trials. If Guangchengzi could calm himself down and fight against the innate divine lightning day in and day out, he might be able to comprehend an innate divine lightning art that belonged to him. After all, he was his favorite disciple. How could the primordial Lord of Heaven punish him so severely for such a small matter? It was just an excuse to give Guangchengzi an opportunity. However, whether Guangchengzi could seize this opportunity depended on his own ability. In addition, among the disciples of the Chan school, other than the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure who was really punished, the rest were forced to go back to cultivate by the primordial Lord of Heaven. Although it was called a punishment, it was just a show for outsiders. In the Shangqing Hall, the Grand Master of Heaven heard the primordial Lord of Heaven's voice and smiled. Pass down my decree. The disciple of the Jie school, Zhao Gongming, has been disrespectful to the Kunlun mountain. Today, he will be punished to go to the Valley of 10,000 Formations and be punished by the 10,000 Formations. He will not be able to come out for 10,000 years. No matter what the primordial Lord of Heaven's purpose was, it was true that the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure had been suppressed under the Qilan cliff for 10,000 years. He had already shown his attitude, so the Grand Master of Heaven had to express his attitude. The Valley of 10,000 Formations was originally a nameless valley on the Kunlun mountain. However, the disciples of the Jie school kept setting up Khanate array formations here to test their power. Gradually, the Khanate array formations densely covered the place and gathered many Khanate Dao. It produced an inexplicable change and evolved into a large array Dao holy land in the primordial world. There were many Khanate array formations here, so it was called the Valley of 10,000 Formations. These Khanate array formations were either perfect or incomplete. They could deduce yin and yang, the 5 elements, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. There were many mighty forces in the world that had incredible power. Zhao Gongming went here. There, he would be tortured by the power of the array formations day and night. It would be unbearable. However, if he could comprehend something here and sense the true meaning of the great Tao, it would be countless benefits for him to attain Dao Daluo Jingxian in the future. Opportunity and risk coexisted. Whether or not one could grasp it all depended on oneself. If the primordial Lord of Heaven could use the excuse of being punished to send his disciples to seek opportunities, so could the Grand Master of Heaven. Kunlun Mountain, Dao Teaching Peak. This was the place where Tong Tian preached. There was a purple bell at the peak of the mountain. It was a superior grade Khanate spiritual treasure called the Immortal Gathering Bell. Tong Tian had obtained this bell from the treasure-snatching rock. Xian Qing did not know its specific power. He only knew that once the bell rang, it would spread throughout the entire Kunlun mountain. At that time, the disciples of Jie school, who were scattered all over Kunlun, would rush over when they heard the bell and listen to the saints preaching. Thus, this bell was named the Immortal Assembling Bell. After Bai Zhe left, Xian Qing rushed over and gently rang the congregating immortals' bell. Junior brothers, quickly come to Dao Teaching Peak to see me. Swish swish swish, the disciples of Jie school flew out from all over Kunlun. Apart from the disciples who were restricted from going out previously, all of them rushed over. The ones who rushed over first were naturally the 4 true disciples of the Grand Master of Heaven, Daoist Duobao, the goddess of Golden Spirit, the goddess of Wudong, and the goddess of Turtle Spirit. Behind them, a group of outer sect disciples led by the 3 sky fairies, Long Ears, and Ding Guang immortals rushed over. Senior brother, all the junior brothers are here. May I know what instructions senior brother has for summoning us here? When everyone arrived, Daoist Duobao stood up and asked Xian Qing on behalf of everyone. Today, in the Jade Void Palace, I was ordered by eldest martial uncle to be the celestial lord of the Xian sect to monitor the conduct of the disciples of the Xian sect. In the future, if there are any disciples of the Xian sect who violate the precepts of the Xian sect and go against the heavens. Once discovered, they will either reflect on their mistakes in seclusion or turn into ashes. Therefore, I hope that all of you will wholeheartedly pursue the Tao in the future. Be careful with your words and actions and strive to be the role models of the Xian sect. Don't cause trouble. Don't violate the precepts of the Xian sect to avoid damaging Master's reputation. It will also save me a lot of trouble. Junior brothers, have you heard me clearly? Sitting at the head of the table, Xianqing glanced at everyone below and said slowly. We understand. From now on, we will cultivate wholeheartedly and strive to attain the Daluo Dao fruit as soon as possible. Everyone nodded and said in unison. Yes, it's good that you understand. Remember what you said today. If one day you offend me, don't blame me for being merciless. In order to prevent everyone from not taking this matter to heart, Xianqing added sternly. Let's put the ugly words first. In the future, if someone from Jie's school really offended him, he would have a reason. One had to know that the higher one's cultivation realm, the more one could not casually make promises. One might not remember them, but the heavenly Tao would definitely help them remember them one by one. At that moment, they made a promise under the witness of the Daluo Jingxian, Xianqing, in the place where the saint taught the Tao. Regardless of whether they would remember it in the future, the heavenly Tao would definitely remember it. When someone was really punished by Xianqing in the future, it could not be blamed on Xianqing. It could only be said that karma was entangled. That person deserved this tribulation. We don't dare. We don't dare. In the future, if we violate the precepts of the Xian sect and cause Master's reputation to be damaged, there is no need for eldest senior brother to do anything. We will no longer have the face to exist in the primordial world and end our own lives. Seeing Xianqing's stern tone, everyone hurriedly promised and even swore a poison oath. Junior brothers, you're being too serious. It's not that I'm strict. I'm just afraid that you'll be rash and form karma and attract calamity. Endure it for a while and calm down. Take a step back and the world will be vast. We are all disciples of the saints. Our futures are limitless. When we reach the Daluo Jingxian in the future, we will be immortal and can be carefree. Now, enduring a period of hardship in exchange for a carefree life in the future is completely worth it. Therefore, before the Daluo, I hope that junior brothers will focus on cultivating. Don't be distracted by external matters. Upon hearing that, Xianqing felt that he had gone overboard and comforted them gently. Thank you for your trouble, eldest senior brother. Hearing that, everyone was deeply touched. They stood up and bowed to Xianqing. Junior brothers, you're too polite. He reached out and waved his hand to help everyone up, preventing them from bowing. Xianqing turned to Duobao and said, Junior brother, you have always been responsible for handling matters in the sect. There's no need to trouble the two masters with this matter. I'll have to trouble you to monitor the character of the disciples, junior brother. Senior brother, you have to monitor the entire Xian sect. I really can't care too much. Monitoring the Xian sect was already enough to offend people. It was better to be separated. Yes. Duobao took a step forward and replied. The current Duobao had just been born not long ago. He was still a simple and honest young man. In addition, half of his current abilities were taught by Xianqing. Therefore, he respected Xianqing very much and naturally would not object to Xianqing's arrangements. Chapter 253. Yes. I'm very assured with you in charge. Looking at Duobao in front of him, Xianqing nodded and said in an inexplicable tone. Who would have thought that this silly young man in front of him would be the top great divine ability that would shock the three realms in the future, the Lord of Buddhism, Gautama Buddha. Alright, it's not easy for us to gather. I can't let you guys come here for nothing. Coincidentally, I just got a pot of 3 brilliance divine water from the Heavenly Emperor. I'll give it to you. As he spoke, Xianqing took out the 3 brilliance divine water from Baizhe and handed it to Duobao. Junior brother, go and distribute the 3 brilliance divine water. You must be fair and just. Even for those junior brothers who can't come here for some reason, you have to leave some for them. When they come out of seclusion, give it to them personally. Also, you can't forget about Chan's school. They can be stingy, but we can't. Otherwise, how are we different from them? After handing the 3 brilliants divine water to Duobao, Xianqing reminded him. Yes, senior brother. I understand. I'll definitely be fair and just. Duobao promised after taking the 3 brilliants divine water. Combining kindness and authority was the simplest and most effective way to control one's subordinates. Xianqing naturally knew that. Anyway, the 3 brilliants divine water was useless to him. He might as well distribute it to the people of Jie's school in exchange for their favor and improve his image in their hearts. No matter how he looked at it, Xianqing would not lose out. After Duobao finished distributing the 3 brilliants divine water, Xianqing waved his hand and signaled everyone to be quiet. Junior brothers, you haven't seen each other for many years. Let's exchange cultivation insights here to reminisce about the feelings of being in the same sect. I still have some mundane matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. After the scene quietened down, Xianqing bade farewell to everyone. We'll see you off, eldest senior brother. Everyone hurriedly bowed to Xianqing. After receiving his benefits, everyone's already enthusiastic attitude became even more enthusiastic. It was also because Di Jun had sent enough 3 brilliants divine water. In addition, the disciples of Jie's school added up to less than 1,000 people. It was far from the grand occasion of the tens of thousands of immortals in the future. As a result, each disciple received no less than 100 drops of triple brilliance holy water, which was quite a fortune. One should know that the triple brilliance sacred water was the essence of the stars, a heavenly treasure that contained the essence of creation. Every drop of the 3 brilliance divine water was extremely precious. It could revive the dead and regenerate bones. It was a treasure that all living beings in the great desolate world yearned for but could not obtain. The disciples of the Jie school were mostly Khanate lifeforms. They were not as wealthy as the Khanate god fiends. Most of them were destitute. Not to mention the Khanate spiritual treasures and the Khanate Daoist scriptures, even the acquired spiritual treasures and the cultivation techniques and divine abilities were all basic Dharma formulations and Dharma treasures that were widely spread in the primitive world. Although his situation improved after he joined the Jie sect and received the treasure from the Grand Master of Heaven, it did not change much. At most, he was no longer so shabby. Therefore, how could they not be happy and excited when they suddenly obtained so much Sangguang holy water? How could they not be grateful to Xianqing? Eldest senior brother, please wait. Outside the Tao teaching peak, Xianqing had just taken a few steps when he saw a beautiful female immortal hurriedly running to his side and calling out to him. It's junior sister Yun Xiao. Why did you stop, senior brother? Xianqing recognized the person in front of him and said with a smile. Yun Xiao was the true number 1 person in the outer sect of the Jie school. Her cultivation level and aptitude were even stronger than Zhao Gongming's. However, she kept a low profile and did not want to steal her brother's limelight. That was why she was not famous. Speaking of Cloudsky's background, it was also extraordinary. Speaking of which, above the East Ocean, there was a breeze and 3 colorful clouds. They were hiding in an immortal island and were protected by a Khanate array. After the Grand Master of Heaven accepted Xianqing as his disciple in the East Ocean, he felt that the East Ocean was fated with him and often traveled to the East Ocean. It was also the will of the heavens. One day, the Grand Master of Heaven thought of something and came to the East Ocean again. By chance, he discovered the 4 little fellows and found them interesting. Hence, he preached the Tao to them for 1,000 years. With the help of this, the 4 of them transformed. 3 women and 1 man were Khanate god fiends. They called each other brother and sister. The 4 of them were grateful for the kindness of the saint and begged bitterly, wanting to acknowledge the Grand Master of Heaven as his master. Looking at the 4 little fellows in front of him, the Grand Master of Heaven was delighted. With a wave of his hand, he brought them back to the Kunlun mountain and accepted them as outer sect disciples. The 4 of them were San Shao and Zhao Gongming. They were also the only 4 outer sect disciples of the Jie school that were not hated by the Heavenly Lord of Primordial Beginning and the Grand Pure One. In the primordial world, all natural phenomena that took form had the potential of connate god fiends. Moreover, they were born with the connate luck and were top-notch perfected immortals of the primordial world. It was not easy for connate spiritual clouds to take form. In the entire primordial world, there were only 5 of them. They were Hong Yun, San Shao, and Yun Zhongzi. They were all extraordinary people. The manifestation of the innate clear wind was also extraordinary. The demon master Kuan Peng was born from the fusion of connate feng shui. The Kuan was a connate water spirit, and the Peng was a connate wind spirit. When the two combined, it was Kuan Peng. Such potential was not inferior to the 3 pure ones. If he had not become a disciple late, he would have been a successor disciple of the celestial sect of wonders. Such a background was really likable. The heavenly lord of primordial beginning and the grand pure one could not hate them. Even the Grand Master of Heaven liked the 4 of them very much. He even gave the supreme grade connate spirit treasure, the primordial chaos golden chalice, a supreme dharma treasure that could collect everything in the world, to Yun Shao. It was obvious that he liked it. Eldest senior brother, I have something to ask you for help. After hesitating for a moment, Yun Shao said. Is it for junior brother Gongming? Without thinking, Xian Qing knew why Yun Shao was looking for him. Yun Shao had a calm personality. Apart from interacting with a group of female immortals, she almost did not interact with outsiders. She was not familiar with Xian Qing. Xian Qing could not think of any other reason to look for him today apart from pleading for Zhao Gongming. That's right. I wonder what mistake my eldest brother made that master wants to punish him by sending him to the 10,000 Array Valley? Yun Shao nodded and asked in confusion. Zhao Gongming wanted to kill the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure. This was a scandal that concerned the reputation of Kunlun. How could the disciples of Jia School have the face to say it? Therefore, no matter how Yun Shao asked everyone, they either stammered, went into seclusion, or talked about other things. In short, they did not tell Yun Shao the truth. Helpless, Yun Shao could only bite the bullet and look for Xian Qing to seek an answer from him. Even if she wanted to plead for mercy, she had to know what mistake Zhao Gongming had made before she could think of a solution. I shouldn't have told anyone about this, but this is the first time junior sister has asked me for help. I can't refuse, so I might as well tell you. If I hadn't gone in time, the great Taoist master Numinous Treasure would have died under the Kunwa's sword. After thinking for a while, Xian Qing tried his best to summarize the matter in one sentence. Ah! Is Big Brother crazy? How dare he kill the senior brother of Chan School? This matter was too sensational. When Yun Shao heard it, she could not help but be shocked. Chapter 254. If the great Taoist master Ling Bao died, the relationship between the 3 pure ones would be ruined. Zhao Gongming's sin would be huge. Junior sister, junior brother Gongming almost made a huge mistake. Master and Uncle Master are already merciful for keeping him alive. Don't ask for too much. Moreover, although the 10,000 Formation Valley is dangerous, it won't endanger your life. Junior brother Gongming will at most suffer a little there. Compared to the mistake he made, it's nothing. It's good to let him remember. Moreover, danger and opportunity coexist in the 10,000 Formation Valley. If junior brother Gongming can comprehend something, it will benefit him for the rest of his life. Whether this is a punishment or a reward is still uncertain. Master's realm is high. His actions must have a deeper meaning. He won't harm junior brother Gongming. Junior sister, don't worry. Afraid that Yun Shao would recklessly go to the Grand Master of Heaven to plead for mercy and anger him, Xian Qing repeatedly advised. Thank you for clearing my doubts, senior brother. Yun Shao understands. Yun Shao was not a fool. After hearing Xian Qing say so much, she naturally knew the severity of the matter. How would she dare to plead for Zhao Gongming? Yes, junior sister has always been steady. Senior brother, you don't need to remind me of anything. If all the junior brothers were like junior sister, then it would be a lot easier to worry about. Pfft. Senior brother, you must be joking. Yun Shao is not as good as you say. Yin Xiao covered her mouth and chuckled. Junior sister, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. I have urgent matters to attend to. Xianqing shook his head and did not say anything else. Instead, he said goodbye. He really had something important to do. If he could succeed, it would be enough to affect the future generations. It was related to countless lives and could be said to be immeasurable. Ah! Yin Xiao was rude. I almost delayed senior brother's important matter. Senior brother, you don't have to mind me. Go ahead. Yin Xiao seemed to have understood something and said embarrassedly. It's fine. Since you're fine, I'll take my leave first. By the way, if you have any questions about your cultivation in the future, you can ask me at the Xianqing Palace. No matter what, I'm still the Daluo Jingxian. I can still guide you in your cultivation. Xianqing gently shook his head and said. Thank you, senior apprentice brother. In the future, we will have to bring our junior brothers and sisters to the profound clear palace to disturb senior martial brother. I hope senior martial brother won't find us annoying. Yin Xiao was smart. Of course, she did not think that Xianqing was talking to her alone. Without a doubt, Xianqing wanted to use her to inform all the disciples of Jie school. As long as one wasn't a fool, they wouldn't reject a Daluo Jingxian who was willing to answer their questions for free. How could that be? Senior brother is more than happy to see you all here. I won't be annoyed. In that case, I will wait for your arrival in the profound clear palace. After saying that, Xianqing crossed the clouds and walked towards the Xianqing Palace. Yin Xiao respectfully sends senior brother off. Xianqing Palace, one of the 4 palaces of Kunlun. It was also the only main hall in Kunlun other than the 3 Pristines Palace. It belonged to Xianqing. Among the disciples of Kunlun, only Xianqing had such treatment. He enjoyed the privilege alone to show the difference between him and the other disciples of Kunlun. In the hall, Xianqing sat cross-legged. In front of him were 3 connate qi. One was the connate 5 elements qi, one was the connate yin-yang essence qi, and one was the chaos origin qi. What Xianqing said earlier was related to the 3 connate qi. It was enough to affect the future. The connate 5 elements qi was the cornerstone of the untainted world. It could create all things and give birth to many connate qi. In order to condense a connate 5 elements qi, a golden immortal had to collect the 5 elements qi from the void day and night. It could only be achieved after 1,000 years. The connate yin-yang essence qi was the foundation of the 5 elements and the essence of creation. A connate yin-yang essence qi could be compared to 10,000 connate 5 elements qi. It required a Taiyi Jingxian to condense the yin-yang essence qi from the world day and night. It would take 1,000 years to create it. The chaos origin qi was the beginning of yin and yang, the foundation of all things, and the source of all connate qi in the untainted world. A chaos origin qi could be compared to 10,000 connate yin-yang essence qi and 100 million connate 5 elements qi. In order to form a strand of primal chaos origin qi, in addition to the natural derivation of heaven and earth, it required a zenith heaven golden immortal to gather primal chaos qi from the primal chaos outside the world and condense it for 1,000 years before it could take form. It was extremely precious. Among the 3 connate qi, the connate 5 elements qi was the most common. As long as one put effort into it, there were many of them in the untainted world. There was no need for a golden immortal to spend time and effort to condense them. The connate yin-yang essence qi was rare in the untainted world. However, it was just an ordinary thing in the blessed grotto heavens. It was not rare. Only the chaos origin qi was not rare at the beginning of the untainted world. However, it had been almost used up by the heaven and earth. It was the rarest and almost impossible to find. Only Mount Kunlun, the second most sacred place in the untainted world, would produce a few chaos origin qi every year. If it were somewhere else, Daluo Jingxian would have to go to the chaos outside the world to condense it. Boom! Looking at the connate qi in front of him, Xianqing suddenly moved. He formed a seal with both hands, and great Dao runes flew out of his body and arranged in the air, gradually forming a furnace. The furnace seemed real and illusory, and purple light flowed around it. The walls of the furnace were covered with great Tao runes, shining brightly. His body also released an ancient and desolate aura, ancient and peaceful. That was the aura of the great Tao. This furnace was like a carrier of the great Tao. As soon as it appeared, it emitted a supreme power. The laws of heaven and earth creaked under the pressure, as if they could collapse the world. It was extremely terrifying. This was the heaven and earth furnace. No, it should be called the Great Tao Furnace now. In the chaos outside the world, the heaven and earth furnace had corroborated with the Great Tao, resulting in a shocking transformation. It had completely advanced into a true supreme Great Tao furnace. Under the Great Tao, there was nothing it could not refine. The supreme Great Tao derived supreme Great Tao was so domineering. Refine. Xian Qing pointed at the connate 5 elements qi and sent it into the Great Tao furnace. Rumble. The Great Tao furnace suddenly operated, and the void shook inexplicably. The power of 10,000 Taos fell, turning into a raging Tao fire that burned toward the Great Tao furnace and began to refine the connate 5 elements qi. There was no skill in this refining method. It only used a powerful force to continuously condense the connate 5 elements qi, transforming it from a gaseous state to a solid state. The connate 5 elements qi was not powerful. Even an ordinary immortal fire could refine it. Not to mention this kind of Tao fire that was ignited with the power of 10,000 Taos. Its power was comparable to the top primordial true fire and heavenly fire. In just a moment, the connate 5 elements qi was refined into a ball and turned into a round pill. Chapter 255. Good pill. Reaching out to take the 5 elements divine pill, Xian Qing looked at it for a moment and couldn't help but praise. This pill was born with 5 colors and was surrounded by a 5-colored halo. It had all 5 elements and contained a great amount of connate qi. This pill alone was comparable to 1,000 years of cultivation for a golden immortal. In other words, if a golden immortal took this pill, he would immediately increase his cultivation by 1,000 years. The connate 5 elements qi was the essence of heaven and earth and was the most gentle. Immortal pills refined with it as the main ingredient would not explode even if a cultivator below the golden immortal realm took it. Instead, it would settle in the body of the user and continuously release energy until the energy was exhausted. Moreover, this pill was born of the connate 5 elements and could be said to be of the same origin as heaven and earth. In the primordial world, immortals, gods, demons, and sorcerers were not restricted. Any living being could consume it without any side effects. Although this connate 5 elements divine pill wasn't precious, it was quite magical and was not bad. From now on, this pill will be called the creation pill. The connate 5 elements creation pill. After a while, Xian Qing's mind moved and he gave the 5 elements divine pill a name. The 5 elements gathered and creation was born. This pill was refined with the connate 5 elements qi and it was most appropriate to call it the creation pill. Putting the connate 5 elements creation pill aside, Xian Qing looked at the connate yin-yang essence. Go. With an order, the great Tao furnace shook and released a great suction force, sucking in the connate yin-yang essence. Rumble. The great Tao furnace operated again, and the Tao fire burned even more fiercely. The refining power surged out, and a huge power leaked out, burning the void until it distorted. Not long after, the great Tao furnace returned to calmness, and the Tao fire gradually subsided. A divine pill surrounded by yin-yang qi slowly rose from the great Tao furnace, releasing black and white divine light. It looked extraordinary. This pill was black and white, surrounded by yin-yang qi. It was the essence of heaven and earth, the essence of the sun and moon, and could create a small kiliacosm. This pill could increase a Tai Jinxian's cultivation by 1,000 years. Any living being of any realm could take it. It had the same nature as the innate 5 elements fortune pill, but it was of a higher level. This pill is also a good fortune pill. It can be called a pre-celestial yin-yang good fortune pill. It contains the power of good fortune and the wonders of yin and yang. After looking at the innate yin-yang nature elixir for a while, Qianqing decided on its name and placed it beside the innate 5 elements nature elixir. Then, he turned his gaze to the last strand of connate qi. Innate ancestor, primal chaos origin qi. This was the true treasure of the untainted land, the treasure that even Daluo Jingxian needed. Boom! The furnace of the Great Path was trembling wildly. The runes of the Great Path on the furnace walls lit up one after another. Terrifying power spread out. Even the rules were twisting as if they could not withstand it. Under this power, the primal chaos origin energy shrunk continuously, gradually condensing into a small ball and turning into a gray chaos divine pill. No, this should be called a chaos Dao core. One could see a strange Taoist rhyme flowing on the Dao core that was refined by the chaos origin qi. It was as if it had been born naturally. It seemed to be explaining the principles of the universe, demonstrating the changes of the connate qi, and containing supreme creation. This chaos Dao core could increase the cultivation of a Daluo Jingxian by 1,000 years. It could help Tai Jingxian improve his connate origin energy and increase the possibility of becoming a Daluo Jingxian. The primal chaos origin qi was born from heaven and earth. It contains the principles of the universe. It is the source of creation, the beginning of all things, and the ancestor of the connate. Therefore, this pill is called the Creation Dao Core. With a thought, Qianqing decided on the name of this Chaos Dao Core. This pill was also a type of creation elixir. However, compared to the innate yin-yang nature elixir, the essence of the Creation Dao Core was undoubtedly higher. It was the best of the 3 pills. At this point, the 3 strands of connate qi had all been refined into innate creation elixirs. Qianqing's grand plan was nearing its end. He only needed to complete the last step to succeed. Not bad, the 3 creation elixirs have been refined. This matter is done. Looking at the creation elixirs in front of him, Qianqing was a little excited. His grand plan was to set a currency for the primordial world. The current primordial world was still in the era of bartering. From the great mystical abilities to the postnatal living beings, if they wanted to trade, they would use treasures of the same value to exchange. There was no exception. Qianqing had lived in the primordial world for so long and had gradually gotten used to this method of trading. However, after the Grand Master of Heaven accepted Zhao Gongming as his disciple, Qianqing suddenly remembered Zhao Gongming's identity in the future. Only then did he have a flash of inspiration and think of setting a currency for the primordial world. Zhao Gongming was the god of fortune. Although Qianqing's idea was good, it was not easy to find a currency that could be recognized by all living beings in the primordial world. If a currency wanted to be recognized, it had to have a great value that could allow all living beings in the primordial world to benefit from it. Or the person who issued it had a great influence and could obtain the unanimous approval of all living beings in the primordial world. Only then could he turn something rotten into something magical and make an ordinary item have extraordinary meaning. In the primordial world, there was only one person who could have such influence, Dao Ancestor Hong Jun. The Dao Ancestor had a noble status and lived in seclusion in the Purple Cloud Palace. If there was no major event in the primordial world, he would not appear. Qianqing did not have the ability to invite the Dao Ancestor from the Purple Cloud Palace to guarantee the currency he issued so that it could obtain the approval of all living beings in the primordial world and replace the method of bartering. Therefore, he could only set his sights on the first method. In the primordial world, the only thing that all living beings in the primordial world liked and were closely related to it was the connate qi. After all, this was the foundation of cultivation. If all living beings in the primordial world wanted to cultivate, they could not do without it. The fact that spirit stones that contained spiritual energy in the future could be popular and become the currency of the cultivation world also proved this point. However, this was the primordial world after all. Moreover, it was the most prosperous era of the primordial world. The connate qi was extremely dense and almost turned into spiritual rain. It was not something that the harsh cultivation environment of the future could compare to. It was probably faster to absorb a mouthful of qi than to refine spirit stones. Therefore, in this environment, using spirit stones as currency would probably not be recognized by all living beings. However, methods were all thought of by people. Xianqing thought hard for thousands of years and finally thought of a way. Spirit stones could not be used as currency because their value was too low. It was not that this method was not good. Then, wouldn't it be fine to find a treasure that had the same nature as spirit stones but was more valuable than them? As a result, these 3 revival pills were born. The Khanate 5 Elements creation pill had the cultivation of a golden immortal for 1,000 years. It was of great benefit to cultivators in the golden immortal realm and below. Chapter 256. The Khanate Yin-Yang creation elixir contained 1,000 years of cultivation of a Tai Jingxian. It was specially prepared for Tai Jingxian cultivators. Of course, if a golden immortal cultivator used it, the effect would be better. It would be very helpful for breaking through the Tai Jingxian. The Chaos Dao elixir was equivalent to 1,000 years of cultivation of a Daluo Jingxian. It was a currency prepared for transactions between Daluo Jingxian and quasi-sages. These 3 creation elixirs were both elixirs and currencies. They were similar to spirit stones, but of a higher level. Among them, the Khanate 5 Elements creation elixir was the lowest level. Its raw materials were also the most common and could be found everywhere in the primordial world. Even if the raw materials could not be found, a golden immortal cultivator could condense one in 1,000 years. A Tai Jingxian could condense one in a year. A Daluo Jingxian was even more impressive. 10 minutes was enough. Only golden immortals had a foothold in the primordial world and could travel everywhere. The currency established by the Xianqing started with golden immortals as the starting point. The Khanate Yin-Yang creation elixir was refined from the Khanate Yin-Yang essence qi. Most of them were stored in the grotto heavens and blessed lands. It might be difficult for ordinary cultivators to find them. However, it did not matter if they could not find the Khanate Yin-Yang essence qi. Refining 10,000 Khanate 5 Elements creation elixirs would allow them to refine one Khanate Yin-Yang creation elixir. Similarly, refining 10,000 Khanate Yin-Yang creation elixirs would allow them to obtain a Chaos Dao elixir. As such, the creation elixir had all the characteristics that a currency should have. Moreover, the Xianqing had the 3 pure ones backing them. They were the top forces in the primordial world and had the ability to issue currencies. As long as they were recognized by the heavenly Tao, the creation elixir could replace the barter method and become the first currency in the primordial world. When that time came, great merit would naturally descend and great luck would be on their bodies. Moreover, even if the world changed and the laws changed greatly in the future, Khanate became postnatal and spirit stones and immortal stones became popular, the creation elixir would not be eliminated. It would continue to exist. That was because the creation elixir took the upper-class route. No matter how prosperous the spiritual stones and immortal stones were, their essence was there. In the end, they would not be of any use to Tai Jingxian and Daluo Jingxian, these people who had merged with Tao. The purpose of their existence was to assist low-level cultivators in their cultivation. They were of no use to powerful cultivators. No matter how much the primordial world had changed, the Daluo Jingxian had always been high and mighty. They were the mainstream of the primordial world. As long as the creation pill could satisfy their needs, then the creation pill would always be the mainstream. No matter what kind of currency appeared in later generations, it would not be able to shake his position. Only when the wills of all living beings were the same as the wills of the Daluo Jingxian would they become particularly important. However, when it came to arguing, Daluo Jingxian's will was naturally more important. The heavenly Tao is above. I, Xianqing, a disciple of the Xian sect, feel that in the primordial world, all living beings barter. It is inconvenient. Therefore, I specially refined the transformation pill and set the currency for the primordial world to replace the method of bartering and open the door for all living beings. May the heavenly Tao be the judge. Disciple Xianqing pays his respects. After setting up the offering table, Xianqing placed the 3 creation pills on it and announced to the heavens. As Xianqing's voice fell, the heavenly Tao immediately sensed it. It was as if a pair of eyes had descended and were coldly looking down on the world. In an instant, the wind and clouds above Kunlun Mountain changed. The mighty power of the heavenly Tao descended and shook the primordial world. Approved. A cold and emotionless voice suddenly resounded between heaven and earth, reverberating in all directions so that all living beings could hear it clearly. The heavenly Tao had approved of the creation pill. Suddenly, the 3 creation pills on the offering table slowly rose and burst into bright light. Their figures were reflected in the sky, allowing all living beings in the primordial world to see them clearly. In the next moment, under the influence of the ways of the world, the methods for refining the 3 pills of providence, as well as everything related, automatically appeared in the minds of all living beings. As a result, they naturally grasped the method of refining the pills. This was a gift from the heavenly Tao. It was the first time that money had appeared in the primordial world. All living beings did not know much about it. It was inevitable that the Tao of money would die prematurely. The heavenly Tao had personally enlightened all living beings and opened up the Tao of money for them. Of course, this benefit was only for this one time. It was only for living beings that were alive now. In the future, living beings that were born would not receive this treatment. If they wanted to refine the creation pill, they would need to rely on the guidance of their predecessors. Praise the 9 heavens immortal. We will remember the immortal's kindness in our hearts. After understanding the key to the creation pill, all living beings bowed in the direction of Kunlun Mountain. They even called out Xianqing's honorific name in unison to express their admiration for him. Money? Creation pill. This Taoist Xianqing is really a great talent. As expected of the chief disciple of the 3rd generation of the Xian sect. It seems that another great medium is about to be born. After finding out the reason for this matter from the heavenly Tao, a group of great mediums sighed. Every time the heavenly Tao made a move, the first to be alarmed were usually these great medium. This time was no exception. Everywhere in the eldritch world was in shock. On the contrary, Kunlun Mountain, which was the source of the incident, was exceptionally quiet. When the 3 pure ones heard about this, they only smiled and did not pay much attention to it. Since the saints did not speak, many disciples did not dare to speak either. Kunlun Mountain fell into silence just like that. Rumble. Above the sky, a golden light appeared first. Then, it became bigger and bigger. It seemed to cover the sky and the sun as it surged towards Xianqing. This was the Xianhuang merit qi. The birth of money was a great contribution to the evolution of the heavenly Tao and the changes of the eldritch world. Therefore, it should be rewarded. In the blink of an eye, the merit golden light arrived above Kunlun Mountain. It split into 2 in the air. 70% entered Xianqing's body, and 30% merged into the creation pill. Buzz buzz buzz, as the merit entered the body, the 3 creation pills underwent a wonderful change. They trembled in the air. The power of the heavenly Tao descended and enveloped the creation pills. In the void, countless Khanate Qi suddenly surged out of nowhere. It was boundless and drowned the creation pills. This change lasted for a long time. 100 years later, the Khanate Qi no longer surged out of the void. The changes of the creation pills also gradually disappeared. After another 100 years, the Khanate Qi in the surroundings was completely absorbed by the creation pills. The power of the heavenly Tao also quietly retreated. The creation pills reappeared in front of Xianqing. No, it should not be called the creation pills anymore. This was because the creation pills had disappeared from where the 3 creation pills were previously. They were replaced by a 7-colored jade bottle. If Xianqing was not wrong, the 7-colored light should be the Khanate Yin-Yang 5 elements qi. The creation bottle was a middle-grade Khanate merit spiritual treasure. Holding the jade bottle in his hand, Xianqing naturally understood its origin. This was a Khanate spiritual treasure formed by the 3 creation pills combined with the merit qi and the Khanate qi with the help of the heavenly Tao. Other than being able to produce the creation pills on its own, it had no other use. Chapter 257. He, Xianqing, was Feng Zichen. He had the chaos bead and the tree of world. Not to mention the qi of origin, he didn't even lack the Khanate origin. Therefore, the fate bottle seemed a little redundant to him. However, the fate bottle was a connate merit spiritual treasure after all. It had the ability to suppress fate. In addition, it was the origin treasure of the way of currency. When the fate pill became popular in the eldritch world, it might be able to take another step forward. It would become a superior grade connate spiritual treasure or even a supreme grade connate spiritual treasure and give birth to a connate origin. In this way, the fate bottle would no longer be redundant. It would be a true auxiliary treasure that could help people break through the Daluo Jinxian. It was rare in the world. The current fate bottle could produce 1 chaos Dao pill, 10,000 connate yin-yang fate pills, and 100 million connate 5 elements fate pills every 1,000 years. It was equivalent to 3 Daluo Jinxian. It was not bad. I'll keep it. It was better than nothing. Even if he couldn't use it, it was not bad to give the fate pills produced by the fate bottle to others as a favor. Putting away the bottle of fortune, Xianqing pondered for a moment. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand and grabbed at the void. A terrifying aura burst out, and the strength of a perfected golden immortal was fully displayed. He grabbed tens of thousands of Xiantian qi from the void. Refine. Xianqing selected a few connate qi from among them. He put them into the Great Path Furnace and refined them according to a special method. Mysterious runes flew out from Xianqing's hands. They kept guiding the connate qi and arranged them into an inexplicable array formation. They gave birth to a strange power and gradually gathered into a ball to form the shape of a pill. That's right, Xianqing was refining pills. The Tao of pills was created by the Grand Pure One. Because it could help people cultivate, once the Tao of pills was born, it immediately became popular in the eldritch world. Everyone learned it. As everyone knew, pills were refined from various connate spiritual herbs. It was very troublesome to collect them. Spiritual herbs needed time to grow. Every pill was not easy to come from. And connate spiritual herbs, to put it bluntly, were another form of connate qi. Because of this, Xianqing had a bold idea. Since connate spiritual herbs could be refined into pills, why couldn't connate qi that had the same nature? That was the reason for the current scene. The 3 pure ones each had their own strengths. The Grand Pure One was the ancestor of the Tao of pills, and no one in the primordial world could compare to him. The Jade Pure One was a grandmaster of weapon refinement, and no one in the primordial world could compare to him. The Prime Clear One was a grandmaster of array formations, and no one in the primordial world could compare to him. While Xianqing was known as a disciple of the Prime Clear lineage, he was actually taught by the 3 clear lineages. He possessed extraordinary insights into pill refinement, artifact refinement and formations. Otherwise, he would not have made up his mind to create another method besides the traditional alchemy method. It was clear that he had a deep foundation and was full of confidence. With the help of Hongmeng Daozhong, Feng Zichen's comprehension ability was only inferior to Dao ancestor Hong Jun, who had the creation Jade Butterfly. He could be said to be the second in the primordial world. Even so, Xianqing was not confident. His achievements in the Tao of alchemy had surpassed the Grand Pure One. His achievements in the Tao of artifact refinement had surpassed the Jade Pure Saint. His attainments in the field of formations had surpassed that of the Prime Clear Saints. It was not easy for him to come to the primordial world and have countless knowledge that far exceeded the era. Wouldn't it be a pity if he could not become the first in the Tao that he cultivated? Therefore, Xianqing painstakingly studied the 3 Taos under such a state of mind. He gathered the strengths of the 3 sects and finally opened up a method to refine pills with connate spirit qi, the Tao of qi pills. Since he could not surpass the 3 clear lineages, he would create another Tao on their foundation. It could be considered another kind of transcendence. After painstakingly studying the 3 Taos for many years, Xianqing had not only gained the Tao of qi pills. There were also many cultivation methods waiting for him to verify. Now, using connate qi to refine pills was to verify the Tao of qi. Xianqing's goal was to become the ancestor of the itinerant immortals of the primordial world and obtain the support of the supreme karma rank. If he wanted to become the ancestor of the itinerant immortals, the 100 arts of immortal cultivation, pill formations, talisman artifacts, were naturally indispensable. Xianqing was working hard for this. Buzz. After a tremor, a golden pill flew out of the great Tao furnace. It was accompanied by a golden halo and emitted a faint fragrance as it floated in the air. This was a golden pill at the first transformation. This was a golden pill refined with connate qi. Using a large array to refine the essence of connate qi, then using the method of refining weapons to form it, and finally using the method of refining pills to form it. In this way, the golden pill at the first transformation in front of Xianqing was formed. According to the Tai Ching pill scripture, the golden pill was formed by creation. It was divided into 9 transformations. The first transformation was the lowest and the creation was limited. It was used by celestial immortals. The golden pill had 9 transformations and endless creation. It could bring the dead back to life and go against the heavens to change one's fate. There were very few people in the primordial world who could refine the golden pill at the 9 transformations. Therefore, the golden pill at the 9 transformations was extremely precious. It was the pill used by Daluo Jingxian. The golden pill refined by Xianqing was only at the first transformation. In the primordial world, any cultivator who had entered the Tao of alchemy could refine it. It was not considered a rare item. However, this golden pill at the first transformation was refined with connate qi. It had never appeared before the primordial world. Therefore, it had an extraordinary meaning. It symbolized the beginning of a Tao and had great luck and merit. After the golden pill at the first transformation was born, the laws of heaven and earth appeared around it as if they were crowding around it. It was as if they were celebrating its birth. It was extremely magical. Even the heavens and earth were happy for its birth. However, only the golden pill at the 9 transformations could be completed. Only by refining the golden pill at the 9 transformations would the Tao of Qi be considered complete. It would be qualified to appear in the primordial world and become one of the many Tao of cultivation in the primordial world. It would enjoy the Qi of heaven and earth. Once again, he placed the golden pill refinement stage 1 into the great Tao furnace. Then, Xianqing grabbed the qi of connate and started to refine the pill again. A few days later, when the furnace fire was extinguished, the golden pill was born again. It was one step closer to advancing from the golden pill at the first transformation to the golden pill at the second transformation. Continue. With a wave of his sleeve, Xianqing repeated the action just now and prepared to refine the golden pill at the 3 transformations. A few months later, the golden pill at the 3 transformations was born. A few years later, the golden pill at the 4 transformations was born. After repeating this 7 times, the golden pill in front of Xianqing had become the golden pill at the 8 transformations. It was round and golden and had a 5-colored halo. It was extraordinary. Success or failure depends on this. Looking at the golden pill at the 8 transformations in front of him, Xianqing flipped his hand and took out 81 strands of connate qi of different attributes and placed them into the great Tao furnace. The Grand Pure One needed 81 types of connate spirit fruits to refine a golden pill at the 9 transformations. That was 81 strands of connate qi. The golden pill at the 9 transformations was endless. It could be useful to Daluo Jingxian. Its refining requirements were naturally precious. Otherwise, wouldn't the golden pill at the 9 transformations be overflowing in the primordial world? Things that defied the natural order must have their limitations, and that was the case. Chapter 258. Once the 9 transformations golden pill appeared, the Tao of Qi core would be completed. In this way, there would be another method in the untainted land, another Tao of alchemy, and another Tao of immortal cultivation. Xianqing could become the ancestor of Qi core and obtain great luck and merit. His status in the Tao of alchemy would be second only to the Grand Pure One. On the other hand, the failure of the 9 transformations golden pill meant that the Tao of Qi core was not perfect and not suitable to appear in the untainted land. It still needed to be perfected and waited for the future. The 9 transformations golden pill was also known as the Tao core. It contained the origin of the congenital realm and merged with Tao. Only in this way could it help Daluo Jingxian. In front of the great Tao furnace, Qianqing calmed his mind and carefully controlled his Dharma power to promote the fusion of the congenital qi to form the pill. Qianqing was personally taught by the Grand Pure One and had a deep understanding of the Tao of alchemy. Refining the 9 transformation golden pill was extremely difficult for others, but for him, it was just a matter of time and effort. It was not difficult at all. But that was using congenital spiritual herbs to refine the 9 transformations golden pill. It was also his first time using congenital qi to refine the 9 transformations golden pill, so he did not have much experience. Moreover, the success or failure of the 9 transformations golden pill determined the success or failure of the Tao of Qi core. He had to be careful. Just like that, 1,000 years later, a golden core surrounded by 7 colored halos slowly rose from the furnace of the Great Path. It exploded with brilliant light like a small sun, illuminating the entire universe. The 9 transformations golden pill was completed. 9 refinements took 3,333 years and 3 months. The 9 transformations golden pill, which represented the Tao of Qi core, was finally refined by Qianqing. There was no need to announce it to the heavens. The moment the 9 transformations golden pill was completed, the Tao of heaven sensed it and looked down. In just an instant, Qianqing felt that he was enveloped by a great and vast will, and he felt powerless from the bottom of his heart. Under this force, even if he was already a golden immortal, he felt like an ant, and he'd lost all his divine abilities and was completely unable to arouse the thought of resisting. It was the Tao of heaven. At this moment, Qianqing turned pale. The will of the Tao of heaven that had just left came again. Because in the untainted land, the only thing that could make Daluo Jingxian feel this way was the Tao of heaven. Unlike the previous time when the entire untainted land was alarmed, the arrival of the will of the heavenly Tao was completely silent and did not alarm too many people. Aside from Eastern Kunlun's 3 pure ones, Zhu Lin's true body under Qilin Cliff, and Western Kunlun's Queen Mother of the West, who sensed something in Kunlun Mountain, there was nothing else. The others didn't notice anything. The arrival of the will of the heavenly way was completely out of Qianqing's expectations. Although the Tao of Qi core was extraordinary, it was still a small Tao after all. Its influence on the primordial world was limited. It was far inferior to setting a currency, which had a profound influence on the primordial world. Qianqing originally thought that the heavenly Tao would bestow some merit and luck. He would announce the birth of the Tao of Qi core to the primordial world and this matter would end. However, he had never expected that as soon as the Tao of Qi core was formed, the will of the heavenly axiom would descend and appear near him, looking at him indifferently. This scared him to death. Could it be that there were still secrets about the way of Qi core that he did not know? For a moment, Qianqing's thoughts ran wild. The feeling of being stared at by the heavenly Tao was not a good feeling. Even Daluo Jingxian did not feel good about it. Qianqing's heart was already in a mess. Otherwise, with Daluo Jingxian's cultivation, his state of mind should be as calm as still water without any ripples. How could he let his thoughts run wild? Thou hast contributed to the primordial world. Thou shalt be rewarded. Just when Qianqing was so nervous that he could not help but ask the heavenly Tao. The will of the heavenly Tao spoke. It was fine if he did not speak, but once he spoke, he wanted to reward Qianqing. Then, under Qianqing's surprised gaze, a purple brilliance surged out from the void and merged into the 36 heavens in his body. Of course, Qianqing recognized that purple brilliance. It was the origin of the heavenly Tao that the heavenly Tao had bestowed to Fengzichen. The origin of the heavenly Tao entered his body and went all the way up along the first heavens, passing through layers of heavens and directly arriving at the 36th heavens, the supreme heaven, Daluo heaven. As soon as he arrived at the Daluo heaven, the origin of the heavenly Tao suddenly dispersed and turned into purple runes. They were endless and merged with the heavenly palace in the middle of the heavens. There, the strongest supernatural power in the 36 heavens was nurtured. Rumble. After the originally illusory heavenly palace merged with the runes formed by the origin of the heavenly Tao, it gradually turned from illusory to real and quickly evolved. Golden stone as the palace, white jade as the stairs, magnificent and magnificent, there were phantoms of 10,000 spirits, dragons, phoenixes, cheilants, all kinds of auspicious beasts, there were all kinds of them. They turned into Tao patterns, vivid and lifelike, imprinted on the walls of the palace. There were rules manifested, surrounding the main hall, crowding him in the center, deducing the principles of the operation of heaven and earth, and endless Tao runes filled the air. This heavenly palace seemed to be at the top of the universe, high and mighty, looking down on everything. At the same time, it seemed to have become the center of heaven and earth, accepting the worship of all living beings in the primordial world. Above the tall and towering palace gate, there were 3 big words written with innate divine runes: Mi Luo Palace. This heavenly palace was called Mi Luo Palace. It was at the highest position of the 36 heavens, located in the Daluo heaven. It was eternal and all-encompassing. It was the supreme heaven that ruled over everything. In the myths of later generations, the Daluo heaven was the supreme heaven, and it was the residence of the Daluo Jingxian. And the Daluo Mi Luo Palace, if Xian Qing remembered correctly, was the residence of the celestial emperor. It was the place where he ruled the 6 heavens, and it was also the most honorable place in the primordial universe. What does this mean? Is it appointing me as the celestial emperor? Looking at the Mi Luo Palace in his body, Xian Qing couldn't help but make a bold guess. The incarnation of the origin of heaven, the top innate god-fiend in the primordial world, and the celestial lord of Xianmen, the first of the 3rd generation disciples. He could also sit on the throne of the celestial emperor. Otherwise, the heavenly Tao would symbolize the center of the universe's power. Why would the Mi Luo Palace, which ruled the heavens, manifest in the heaven realm in his body? Wasn't this intentionally appointing him as the celestial emperor? That was the celestial emperor. The highest position in the primordial world, the master of the universe in name. Everything in this world, whether it existed or not, whether it was life or death, or where it was under his rule. If an ordinary person could sit in this position, he would immediately have the strength second only to the saints. His status, in name, was even higher than that of the saints. In later generations, Haotian was called the celestial emperor, but he was actually a puppet. His position was really awkward. But when Tathagata saw him, he also had to bow and not dare to be disrespectful. When the 3 pure ones saw him, they also had to call him His Majesty to show respect. The celestial emperor was the master of the primordial world. His face was the face of the world. Disrespect to him was disrespect to the world. There would be a calamity, and no one was an exception. It was also because the power of the celestial emperor was too great that even the saints were afraid of him. That was why the 4 royals and 6 royals appeared one after another, taking away the power of the celestial emperor step by step. Chapter 259. Although Di Jun and Hao Tian were both celestial emperors, their natures were completely different. Di Jun had the strength that a celestial emperor should have, but because of the existence of Pangu's descendants, his position as the lord of the heavens and earth seemed to be a little unjustified. Hao Tian was the complete opposite of Di Jun. He, who had the strong support of Tao ancestor Hong Jun, rightfully sat on the position of celestial emperor. However, Hao Tian did not have the strength to match the position of celestial emperor, causing him to gradually be controlled by the saints in the future and become a puppet in name only. In the primordial world, strength was the most important. External forces were ultimately external forces, not as practical as one's own strength. Hao Tian's future situation was a true portrayal of virtue not matching the position. At this moment, in Xian Qing's heart, he was already thinking about how to feign civility with the saints after he ascended the position of celestial emperor. Step by step, he would gradually get rid of the saints' control and become a true celestial emperor. At that time, the celestial emperor was him. The great emperor of Ziwei was him. The North Star emperor was also him. The 4 royals occupied 2 and the 6 royals occupied 3. In this primordial world, who could shake his position and interfere with his rule? Even Tao ancestor Hong Jun could not. However, Xian Qing was obviously thinking too much. How could the position of celestial emperor be so easy? Di Jun had the merit of the sun star shining on the primordial world, which was why he could ascend the throne of celestial emperor. Hao Tian was not worthy of the position. After becoming Celestial Emperor, he had to enter the world to experience tribulations to accumulate merit. In the primordial world, he had experienced a total of 132 million tribulations. Each tribulation should have taken 129,600 years. In total, he had spent about 157 billion years before he achieved success and regained the position of the Celestial Emperor. He was limitless and immeasurable. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to ascend to the position of Celestial Emperor. Xianqing's identity as a disciple of the Celestial Sect of Wonders was far from enough. To forcefully ascend to the position of Celestial Emperor, Hao Tian's fate was a lesson. A purple light flashed, allowing Xianqing to understand the function of Mi Luo Palace. The highest achievement of the 36 heavens, the supreme Mi Luo Palace. It controlled the rules of heaven and earth, ruled all the laws in the world, integrated into one, supreme, and destroyed all existence. This was the supreme power that belonged to the Celestial Emperor. At the initial stage, one could combine all the divine abilities in the world and combine them into one, erupting with unparalleled power. At the middle stage, one could control the laws of heaven and earth. When they attacked, it was as if heaven and earth were pressing down, destroying everything. In the later stages, he could command everything in the primordial world, regardless of whether it was people, objects, spells, or Tao. As long as it existed, it could be controlled. Its power was incomparable, its divine might inconceivable. That was why it was called a supreme great divine ability. What a waste of joy. Xianqing was a little disappointed after learning about the function of Mi Luo Palace. Although this mystical ability was powerful and could be ranked in the top 10 in the primordial world, it was still far inferior to the position of Heavenly Emperor. The position of Celestial Emperor was a treasure that allowed one to ascend to the heavens in a single bound. It was also the most precious treasure in the primordial world. But fortunately, with encompassing Net Palace here, once the future Heavenly Emperor loses his position, we can rely on this palace to fight for it. After thinking about it, Xianqing comforted himself. In the primordial world, besides strength, status was also extremely important. Don't you see that those who occupy high positions all have extremely honorable backgrounds? The Magi did not respect the heavens and the earth. They only respected Pangu. Even Tao ancestor Hong Jun was not in their eyes. Even so, the witch race still dominated the primordial world. Tao ancestor Hong Jun did not dare to kill them. What was the reason? It was because they had the status of Pangu's descendants. Relying on this status, the primordial world would naturally protect them and not let them encounter the calamity of death. If not for the fact that the witch race failed to live up to expectations and created endless killing and lost the protection of heaven and earth, how could the position of the protagonist of heaven and earth fall to the human race? Encompassing Net Palace was the most precious place in the primordial world. It was one of the symbols of the Heavenly Emperor. Since Xianqing controlled it, he naturally had the qualifications to fight for the position of Heavenly Emperor. Perhaps, with encompassing Net Palace, Xianqing could even obtain many supporters. After the origin of the Heavenly Tao descended, the will of the Heavenly Tao slowly retreated. At the same time, changes occurred in the sky above Kunlun Mountain again. Heaven and earth merit gathered and surged towards Xianqing. Before reaching Xianqing, the heaven and earth merit split into two. 30% landed on the 9 transformations golden core, and 70% continued to surge towards Xianqing. However, at this moment, Xianqing waved his sleeve and injected the merit that was surging towards him into the 9 transformations golden core. Suddenly, the 7-colored halo on the 9 transformations golden core became even brighter and turned into a divine ring that surrounded its body. The Tao runes flowing on its body also underwent a transformation. Mysterious runes were born and arranged layer by layer, combining with each other and turning into a mysterious connate Tao that merged with the 9 transformations golden core. At this moment, it was no longer a core, but a Tao. Its body carried a mysterious connate Tao. The name 9 transformations golden core was no longer suitable for it. Now, it was a Tao fruit. The Daluo Tao fruit could create a Daluo Jinxian Tao fruit. The 9 transformations golden core, which originally contained powerful medicinal power, underwent an unimaginable transformation with the help of the heaven and earth merit and became a rare treasure in the world. The Daluo Dao fruit. This item may be of great use in the future. Qianqing could not think of a way to use the Daluo Dao fruit in such a short time, so he put it away and waited for the future. After that, with the help of the heavenly path, everything about the Tao of Qi core spread throughout the entire Eldritch land in an instant. Good. This is what a successor should be like. After understanding the essence of the Tao of Qi core, the three pure ones were overjoyed and could not help but praise. At this moment, Qianqing finally broke free from their influence and walked on his own Tao. His future was limitless and he had the possibility of attaining the Tao of chaos. How could the three pure ones not be happy? If they followed the path of others, although they could progress smoothly and quickly, they would never achieve great things. Only by blazing one's path through brambles and thorns would one be able to walk further and longer. Hiss. How long has it been? It has only been about 3,000 years since the birth of the creation pill and the establishment of the Eldritch land currency. This Taoist Qianqing has also established the Tao of Qi core. This celestial lord of the Xian sect is really good at causing trouble. 3,000 years was just a blink of an eye for the great divines. But in the blink of an eye, Qianqing had established another Tao, which made them suspicious. Since when did establishing a Tao become so simple? First, there was the sword ancestor, then there was Qianqing. These two are people of great wisdom. I wonder what changes they will bring to the Eldritch land. In just 10,000 years, the Eldritch land had undergone earth-shaking changes. First, there was the birth of the Tao of Sword, then the Tao of Currency, and the Tao of Qi core. The changes were more intense than the previous tens of millions of years. I wonder what the future will be like. At this moment, in the Eldritch land, there was another change. Above Kunlun Mountain, endless merit gathered. Chapter 260. How could this be? What is Taoist Qianqing doing? Why is there no end to it? Looking at the merits above Kunlun Mountain, the great mediums were helpless. In the blink of an eye, the Xianhuang merit had descended 3 times. Could it be that the primordial heavenly path belonged to him? What's going on? Looking at the Xianhuang merit that was surging towards him, Qianqing was a little confused. He did not know where these merits came from. Originally, Qianqing had planned to leave the Xianqing Palace and go to the Jade Void Palace to visit the 3 pure ones and share his joy with them. But who knew that before he could move, boundless merit would suddenly descend from the sky, causing him to be a little surprised for a moment. This merit came out of nowhere, and it really made him a little confused. The great sage is merciful. Great sorrow and great wish. Save the suffering and save the suffering, infinite and boundless. Praise the 9 heavens immortals. The great sage is merciful. Great sorrow and great wish. Save the suffering and save the suffering and save the suffering, infinite and boundless. Praise the 9 heavens immortals. The great sage is merciful. Great sorrow and great wish. Save the suffering and save the suffering and save the suffering, infinite and boundless. Praise the 9 heavens immortals. Just as Qianqing was puzzled, the praises of all spirits suddenly sounded in his ears. One after another, it was incomparably grand. It was inexplicably moving and shook his heart. What's going on? Why is there the wish of all spirits coming? The sudden turn of events made Qianqing confused and shocked. Other than the Tao of Currency and the Tao of Qi core, he did not do anything else. It was true that these 2 Taos could obtain merit, but it was a little exaggerated to say that they could attract the gratitude of all spirits. Only the gratitude of all spirits from the bottom of their hearts could stimulate the power that was enough to shake everything in his heart. Obviously, the Tao of Qi core and the Tao of Currency did not have this ability. No matter what Qianqing thought, the merit aura was still surging. It covered the sky and covered the earth, covering everything. Virtuous Qi was everywhere, and nothing could be seen. Otherwise, with the strength of Daluo Jingxian and the strength of many great mediums, how could they not see what was going on? Rumble. More and more Xianhuang merits were accumulated. In the blink of an eye, it exceeded the capacity of Xian Qing's body. It gushed out of his body and formed a golden cloud above Kunlun Mountain that covered an area of 1,000 miles. Moreover, as the number of merits increased, the auspicious cloud continued to expand, attracting the attention of countless people. Just like that, the golden auspicious clouds above Kunlun Mountain turned into a radius of 10,000 miles. The virtuous qi in the sky gradually stopped, and the heavens regained their clarity. After careful calculation, the Xianhuang merit points that Xian Qing obtained this time were no less than the merit points that he obtained when he created the Xiantian sword Dao. That also meant that without him knowing, he had done something that was of great merit to all living beings and had an endless and far-reaching impact on the future of the primordial world. Otherwise, the heavenly Dao wouldn't have given him so much merit, and he wouldn't have obtained the power of all spirits. Spirit race? The moment Tianji became clear, Xian Qing learned about the origin of the black-yellow merit. It was the race with the largest population and the least sense of existence in the untainted land, the spirit race. The spirit race was the general name of the primordial world's plants. Flowers, trees, mountains, rivers, spiritual herbs, immortal roots, and all the natural spirits of the primordial world could be called the spirit race. However, it was too difficult for a natural spirit to transform. Not only did it take a long time, but there were also countless calamities waiting for them. Every natural spirit was an extremely precious spiritual herb. It was needed to assist in cultivation, and it was even more needed to refine pills. As such, their fate could be imagined. Moreover, the higher the grade of the connate spirit root, the more difficult it was to transform. It was almost impossible for a top-grade connate spirit root to transform. All these reasons combined made the number of experts of the spirit race extremely small. There were very few Daluo Jinxian. There were almost none of them with top-grade combat strength. Oh. It wasn't that there weren't any. In terms of strength, the spirit race might not be weaker than the shamans and demons. That was because the spirit race had produced 2 primordial chaos experts. In this way, the shamans and demons without primordial chaos experts seemed to be inferior to the spirit race. They didn't dare to. Their success was due to primordial chaos, and their failure was also due to primordial chaos. How much providence was needed to support 2 primordial chaos experts? Therefore, the birth of 2 primordial chaos experts almost drained the spirit race's luck and foundation, causing the spirit race to completely decline. It had not recovered to this day. In the primordial world, the spirit race had ended up in such a miserable state. It might be related to this. Unfortunately, the origins of these 2 primordial chaos experts were complicated. Their thoughts were elsewhere, and they completely ignored the life and death of the spirit race, leaving it to fend for itself. Otherwise, with 2 primordial chaos experts, even if the spirit race could not become the protagonist of the world and rule the primordial world, it would not be difficult for them to become an overlord and watch the changes of time. Otherwise, how could they have ended up in such a miserable state? Of the 2 primordial chaos experts, one was the primordial chaos expert, great immortal Yang Mei. His main body was one of the 10 great connate spirit roots of the primordial world, the hollow willow tree. His cultivation was unfathomable, and he was the first existence to reach the primordial chaos in the primordial world. He had achieved the Tao before the Tao ancestor. It was said that the Tao ancestor once fought with Yang Mei and used all his spiritual treasures, but he did not touch him at all. Instead, all his spiritual treasures were taken away by him, which greatly embarrassed him. From this, it could be seen how powerful great immortal Yang Mei was. Moreover, the predecessor of great immortal Yang Mei was even more terrifying. He was the space demon god, ranked second among the 3,000 chaos demon gods. His strength had reached an incredible level, second only to Pangu. Such a figure could not forget the chaos outside the realm. The primordial world was not in his eyes, so what was the spirit race? The second primordial chaos expert was a high and mighty saint. One of the top 10 primordial spiritual roots in the primordial world was the primordial Bodhi tree. He was the second sect master of the Western sect, Daoist Juanti. Daoist Juanti's thoughts were needless to say. He wanted to strengthen the Western sect and restore the prosperity of the ancient West. Just the Western sect alone made him feel a little powerless. How could he care about the life and death of the spirit race? This led to the current situation of the spirit race. Today, the spirit race thanked Xian Qing because of the influence of the Tao of Qi core. With the birth of the Tao of Qi core, if people wanted to refine elixirs, they could also collect the primordial Qi to refine elixirs. In this way, countless spirit race could avoid the disaster of being destroyed and had a slight chance of becoming Tao. With a thought, countless people could be saved. Wouldn't that be immeasurable merit? Although Xian Qing established the Tao of Qi core, he simply wanted to open another branch outside the traditional Tao of pills. He did not think so much at all. However, the heavenly Tao did things based on one's actions, not one's heart. As long as one did something with great merit, there would be Xianhuang merit, even if it was just unintentional. That was how Xian Qing's merit came about. Chapter 261. Spiritual Venerable. Under the wishes of the Ling clan, Xian Qing found that there was a new karmic rank on him, Spiritual Venerable, the Venerable of the Ling clan. With the Spiritual Venerable karmic rank, Xian Qing's body immediately had a wonderful change. In his perception, the world was different. Everything had come alive and was releasing their emotions to their heart's content. Their happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy, and everything they had experienced in the past were all sensed by Xian Qing. Even the things that happened here in the past were spied by Xian Qing from the memories of all things. Listen to the sound of everything. This was a gift from the Ling clan, and it was also a supreme magic that only belonged to the Spiritual Venerable. What does the way of heaven mean? Does it want me to control all kinds of creatures with this karmic rank so that I can become the great emperor of the Eastern Pole? After experiencing the changes in his body, Xian Qing thought with some doubts. The great emperor of the Eastern Pole, one of the 6 royals, was the lord of all kinds. He ruled all kinds of creatures and was one of the most honorable beings in the world. Of course, as one of the 6 royals, the power of the great emperor of the Eastern Pole was naturally not so simple. He was also one of the rulers of the underworld and a great saint who saved people from suffering. He had supreme power. However, these had nothing to do with Xian Qing now. What he cared about was the meaning of the Spiritual Venerable karmic rank. Although the great emperor of the Eastern Pole had great power and many authorities, but the Lord of all races was the foundation of his existence. And the authority of a Spiritual Venerable was part of his authority. Therefore, when the great emperor of the Eastern Pole was born, Xian Qing, the Spiritual Venerable, was bound to be restrained by him. Either he was subordinate to him, or he gave up the Spiritual Venerable karmic rank. There was no third choice. However, Xian Qing really didn't like to be subordinate to others. Xian Qing was even more unwilling to give up what he got. Therefore, in order to not let himself be wronged, the position of the great emperor of the Eastern Pole was. He was definitely going to be the Spiritual Venerable karmic rank. In this way, it coincides with my plan to secretly control the heavenly court. With a smile, Xian Qing hid the merit on his head and rushed to the Jade Palace. After making so many movements, no matter what, he had to explain it to the 3 pure ones, even though the 3 pure ones already knew everything. Because this was his duty as a disciple. Just as Feng Zichen was in seclusion to refine the mortal Tao imperial court and Xian Qing was visiting the 3 pure ones, a conspiracy against the shaman and demon races was slowly unfolding. On Mount Meru, Daoist Juanti's heart stirred. He left the place and rushed towards the East Sea. Meanwhile, in the heavenly court, demon god De Feng was ordered by Di Jun to leave the heavenly court and head to the East Sea's Valley of Tang to reprimand the 10 demon princes. After the 6 sages attained the Tao, the Eastern Emperor Tai felt that his strength was insufficient. He pushed aside all mundane matters and focused on seclusion on the sun, hoping to step into the primordial chaos Tao realm as soon as possible. As such, the matter of teaching the 10 golden crows was naturally put aside. As the celestial emperor, Di Jun had to maintain the operation of heaven and earth. He was too busy to find the time to discipline the 10 golden crows. In order to give birth to the 10 golden crows, Shiha's origin was damaged. She had no choice but to return to the lunar star to recuperate in seclusion. As for Fuxi, Kuanpeng, and the demon gods of the heavenly court, they all had important matters to attend to and had no time to teach the 10 golden crows. Helpless, Jun could only leave the 10 golden crows to the palace maids. However, the palace maids had limited talent and low status. The highest cultivation level among them was only Tai Jingxian. When facing the 10 golden crows, it was already extraordinary that they could barely maintain their composure. How would they dare to criticize the 10 golden crows? As a result, the 10 golden crows became lawless. The 10 golden crows were bored in the heavenly court and wanted to go to the primordial world to take a look. They ignored the palace maid's obstruction and rushed towards the southern heavenly gate. The golden crows were the spirits of the sun. Their bodies were covered in true sun fire that could burn the sky and boil the sea. They were extremely powerful. This was especially so for the 10 golden crows. As they were born and not born naturally from the sun star, they should not be so powerful. However, Shiha was eager to love her son. When the 10 golden crows were still in the gestation stage, she did not hesitate to exhaust her own origin. She used the extreme yin to generate yang to forcefully strengthen their origin. With this help, after the 10 golden crows were born, their innate origin was sufficient. They were all innate god fiends and were not inferior to the gods born naturally from the sun star. However, there were gains and losses. Although the 10 golden crows had obtained strength that far exceeded their own, they had also paid a price. Before Daluo Jingxian, they were unable to fully control their own strength, causing the true sun fire to leak out and keep people away. Therefore, if the 10 golden crows ran to the primordial world rashly, the true sun fire emitted from their bodies would cause a terrible disaster to the primordial world. Unfortunately, the 10 golden crows were noble. Even if the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had the strength to take them down, who would dare to do so? Fortunately, when the 10 golden crows were about to rush out of the southern heavenly gate, Kuanpeng returned to the heavenly court because of Feng Zichen and bumped into them. The heavenly generals did not dare to attack the 10 golden crows, but Kuanpeng did not have such scruples. He immediately took them down and brought them to Jun for him to deal with. Jun was very angry about the 10 golden crows' actions. He immediately locked the 10 golden crows in the Tang Valley. They were not allowed to come out until their cultivation was Daluo Jinxian's. Demon god Defeng went out of the southern heavenly gate. After confirming the direction, he flew straight to the East Sea. However, just as he was about to reach the East Sea, a 7-colored light suddenly appeared in the void and enveloped him. But strangely, Defeng did not seem to notice the abnormality around him. He continued to rush to the Tang Valley without looking back. This 7-colored light was naturally formed by Daoist Juanti. Otherwise, with the strength of demon god Defeng and Daluo Jingxian, how could he not notice the abnormality? Only a saint could do something like that. The Tang Valley, the legendary place where the sun rises. Of course, this was only a legend in the future. Since ancient times, the sun star had always been high above the 9 heavens. It had never changed. Naturally, there would not be a place where the sun rises and sets. The so-called place where the sun rises was just a misunderstanding caused by the 10 golden crows playing here. They were seen by others and spread false rumors over countless years. Open. Outside the Tang Valley, Defeng took out the token given to him by Jun and drew in the void. Suddenly, the void was like the surface of the water, undulating. Innate formation patterns appeared and entangled with each other, gradually forming a passage. This formation was called the Halua Formation. It was specially set up by Jun to prevent the 10 golden crows from sneaking out. Walking along the passageway, the first thing that greeted them was a towering mulberry tree that blocked out the sun. This was the largest branch of the innate Fusang tree, one of the 10 great innate spiritual roots of the primordial world. It was cut down by Jun and placed in the Tang Valley for the 10 golden crows to rest. Chapter 262. Defeng of the Demon Clan greets the 10 princes. Under the mulberry tree, Defeng bowed slightly and said, It's Defong. The demon god Defong is here. Father sent someone to see us. On the mulberry tree, the 10 golden crows heard the commotion and flew to Defong, shouting excitedly. Defong, Defong. Did Imperial Father send you here to let us out? Or to bring us back to the heavenly court? The Valley of Tang is too small and too boring. It's not fun at all. It's far less lively than the heavenly court. The 10 golden crows scrambled to ask as they came to Defong. Obviously, the time in the Valley of Tang had suffocated them. No. Defong shook his head and replied, His Majesty sent me to urge you to cultivate well and strive to advance to the realm of Daluo Jingxian as soon as possible. Ah. It's not to let us out. Hearing this, the big golden crow said with disappointment, his expression full of depression. A golden immortal of the great firmament. How many years would it take to step into that realm? 100,000 years? 1,000,000 years? How many years had it been since they were born? It had only been a few 100,000 years, not even as old as Feng Zichen. But now, they had to wait bitterly in a small place like the Valley of Tang for tens of millions of years. How could these young golden crows endure this? Father is really too much. We just wanted to go to the primordial world to take a look. We didn't do anything, and he directly locked us in the Valley of Tang, not allowing us to leave this place. This is too much. The 10 golden crows muttered in dissatisfaction. Defong was speechless. These little ancestors really did not know how many sins they would commit if they went to the primordial world for a tour, and how much karma they would attract. At that time, even if they were the sons of the celestial emperor, they would not be able to escape the calamity of death. No one would be able to save them. Your Highness, don't say that. His Majesty is doing this for your own good. At this moment, an undetectable 7-colored light suddenly appeared on Defeng's body, causing him to be in a daze. When he came back to his senses, the words that he wanted to describe the pros and cons of the 10 golden crows became words of provocation. Ah! The princes are still too young. They do not know the dangers of the primordial world and His Majesty's painstaking efforts. In the untainted land, there is a great evil of the world, the sorcerer tribe. They are extremely ferocious. They feed on us demons and dominate the untainted land. Even His Majesty could do nothing to them. He could only retreat to the heavenly court and use Zhouxing as a barrier to resist them. What? How is this possible? We demons have the heavenly courts. Who in the primordial world can compare to us? My uncle is the strongest in the primordial world. He can even suppress a saint. How powerful is the Magi? How can they be above us demons? Before Defong could finish, the 10 golden crows angrily interrupted him. After all, the 10 golden crows were still young, so Di Jun would naturally not mention the Wu tribe in front of them. As for the palace maids, it was even more impossible for them to talk about the Wu tribe. They would only choose to talk about something nice. Therefore, ever since the 10 golden crows were born, they had been living in the illusion that the demon clan was invincible in the untainted world. Now, they suddenly heard that there was an even more powerful wizard clan above the demon clan. As such, they could not accept it at once. Their mentality exploded on the spot. Damn the Wu tribe. How dare they feed on us demons? They really deserve to die. When we come out, we will kill them all and clear the name of our demon clan. Flying in the air, the 10 golden crows said hatefully. Haha. At this moment, Defong suddenly laughed. Demon deity Defong, why are you laughing? Did we say something wrong? Defeng's attitude angered the golden crows and they questioned him. I'm laughing at your highness' naivety. The Wu tribe is powerful. Even His Majesty does not dare to fight with them. Your highness's cultivation is not as good as Daluo Jinxian's. What gives you the confidence to say that you want to destroy the Wu tribe? Aren't you boasting? Under the influence of the 7-colored light, Defong seemed to have changed into a different person. He said all kinds of outrageous words in the air, constantly provoking the 10 golden crows. Defong, how dare you? Do you know what you're saying? With the arrogant temperament of the 10 golden crows, they could not stand Defeng's mockery. They immediately shouted at him, their eyes sharp and full of killing intent. If it were not for his identity as a demon deity, they would have torn him to pieces on the spot. There was no doubt that the 10 golden crows had the ability to kill Daluo Jinxian. As the sons of Dijun, they had many magic treasures and countless trump cards. There was no lack of means to kill Daluo. You can't stand it? Then do you know why His Majesty has locked you up here? It's because the Wu tribe has spread the word that they want to capture you as snacks. His Majesty is afraid and has to hide you in the Valley of Tang to prevent any accidents from happening to you. If His Majesty is not afraid of the Wu tribe, he would have destroyed them after the Wu tribe spread the word. Why would he let you hide here? At this moment, Defeng had completely lost his mind and was completely influenced by Kundi. His every move was according to his thoughts. Ah! How dare you! What a disgrace! I want to destroy the Wu tribe. At this moment, the 10 golden crows' eyes were red and their bodies were full of killing intent. The sun's genuine fire rolled out and burned the void until it was distorted. If it were any other time, Defeng's nonsense would not have been able to fool the 10 golden crows. However, with Kundi present, Defeng was not the only one who was bewitched. The strength of the 10 golden crows was only Tai Jinxian. It was much easier for Kundi to play with their minds than for Defeng. Let's go out and have a look. Let's see what the Wu tribe is capable of. How dare they treat us as snacks? The more they thought about it, the angrier they became. The 10 golden crows shouted at the same time and suddenly merged into one huge golden crow. This was the divine sense of the 10 golden crows. As they were of the same origin, they could merge into one and temporarily raise their strength to a higher level. In other words, this huge golden crow had the strength of Daluo Jinxian. Caw! With a long caw, the golden crow moved and suddenly came in front of Defeng. It snatched Dijun's token from his hand, opened the formation, and left the Valley of Tang. It flew straight to the untainted land. Oh no! This is a disaster. As the 10 golden crows left, Defeng felt a strong sense of danger and recovered a trace of clarity. At this moment, he could not care less and hurriedly chased after the 10 golden crows. After all, Defeng was too influenced by Kundi and lost his former wisdom. Otherwise, he would have returned to the heavenly court and asked Dijun for help instead of chasing after the 10 golden crows. However, the golden crow left the Valley of Tang and directly turned into a long rainbow, disappearing in the blink of an eye. The rainbow transformation technique was the divine sense of the golden crows. In terms of speed, it could be ranked in the top 3 in the untainted land. Defeng could not easily catch up with it. Chapter 263. Tai, the poor way of the past made me lose face. Today, the poor way will give you retribution. Your Golden Crow clan will have no descendants. After Defeng left, Taoist Zhuandi's figure slowly appeared in the void. When he received Zhuan to become a saint, it should have been the most glorious moment of his life. However, they were humiliated by Dong Huang Tai and achieved his supreme reputation. He was completely reduced to the background. At that time, Taoist Zhuandi secretly swore to give Dong Huang Tai retribution. Now, retribution had come. In this world, what was more painful than the tragic death of one's family and the destruction of one's life's efforts? Kill the golden crows and destroy the demon race. This was what Zhuan did. Above the East Sea, a golden rainbow flew away. Wherever it passed, the seawater evaporated, and the aquatic creatures turned into ashes. It was unknown how many people it had killed. However, the golden rainbow was too fast. When the mighty figures of the East Sea looked over, it had already disappeared. In the human clan's ancestral hall, Feng Zichen, who was refining the human Dao imperial court, suddenly had an ominous premonition. It became more and more intense, waking him up. What happened? From this premonition, Feng Zichen vaguely sensed that something big was going to happen in the primordial world. Its influence was far beyond imagination. Yes, it's the Golden Crows. The 10 Golden Crows are traveling in the primordial world. Is the great shaman-demon war about to begin? Separating a strand of divine thought, Feng Zichen looked outside. What he saw was a golden rainbow flying over. With his eyesight, how could he not recognize the origin of the golden rainbow? It was the 10 golden crows, the sons of the celestial emperor. The 10 of them are really Di Jun's good sons. Looking at the 10 golden crows flying over, Feng Zichen sighed. Although the shamans and demons had a deep grudge, after so many years of fighting, they gradually reached a balance. The demons controlled the sky, and the shamans controlled the earth. The two races lived in peace for a long time, and the primordial world ushered in a long time of peace. However, the 10 golden crows destroyed this great situation. This completely ignited the hatred between the shamans and demons, leading to an unprecedented war between the two races. That is, the Second World War of the Liches, the final battle of the Liches. It could be said that the 10 golden crows traveling to the primordial world was the fuse for everything. Everything happened because of this. The exciting years of ups and downs in the future were also pulled open because of this. At this moment, looking at the 10 golden crows, Feng Zichen could not help but feel as if he was witnessing history, and his heart was indescribably excited. Not good, humans. Suddenly, Feng Zichen thought of something and could not help but cry out. He no longer cared about refining the royal court and left the ancestral shrine with a flash. Wherever the golden crow passed, the power of the grand sun true fire would be unleashed and wreak havoc, causing the earth to be scorched and the rivers to dry up. What would happen if they were to pass by the human race? Although the East Sea was protected by Nuwa's enchantment, there was no need to worry about the grand sun primordial fire. However, the human cities outside the ancestral land did not have such good treatment. If they were unlucky and happened to be in the path of the golden crow, they would probably be burned to ashes by the grand sun true fire in an instant. 5 Emperor's Canopy. Outside the ancestral land, Feng Zichen's mind moved, and the 5 chi in his body surged and flew out of his body, forming a huge 5-colored canopy in the air. This time, the Emperor's shadows imprinted on the 5 Emperor's canopy were no longer the 5 elements sacred beasts, but the 5 elements demon gods, the 5 chaos demon gods. Therefore, as soon as the 5 Emperor's canopy appeared, it connected to the connate 5 elements Tao. No, not connected, but requisitioned. As the 5 elements demon god roared, he actually forcibly requisitioned the power of the connate 5 elements Tao, pulling it out from the underworld and circling it around his body. This was the first time Feng Zichen used the 5 Emperor's great mystique after confirming Daluo Jinxian's Tao. He did not expect that after not using it for a long time, the 5 Emperor's great mystique would transform to such an extent. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a great Tao mystique. At this moment, the 5 Emperor's canopy was the Tao, the connate 5 elements Tao. Under the powerful power of the 5 elements demon god, it temporarily replaced the existence of the connate 5 elements Tao. It was clearly in front of Feng Zichen, but it was omnipresent. This was the magic of the connate Tao. It was compatible with the origin of heaven and earth, and it was omnipresent in the primordial world. The moment the 5 Emperor's canopy replaced the connate 5 elements Tao, almost at the same time, the figures of the 5 Emperor's canopy appeared in the sky above all the cities and tribes of the human race. Streams of 5 elemental chi descended, protecting them within. In the sky above the East Sea, 10 golden crows passed by with long golden tails. Specks of golden light floated down from the sky and fell to the ground. That was the true sun fire. Every speck could burn a Tai Jinxian to death. It was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the East Sea was protected by the barrier set up by Nuwa. Before the true sun fire could fall, it was destroyed by Nuwa's barrier in midair. Otherwise, the human race would have suffered great losses. The other territories of the human race were protected by the 5 Emperor's canopy, so they did not need to worry about the true sun fire. All the humans outside, listen to my order. From now on, rush back to the ancestral land. No mistakes. Seeing the 10 golden crows leave, Feng Zichen gave the order. Next would be the fall of the golden crows and the war between the liches and the demons. That was a war that would affect the entire primordial world. If they stayed outside, wouldn't they be courting death? The 10 golden crows flew all the way, completely ignoring the lives of the people on the way. Their rationality was blinded by anger, and there was only one thought in their mind. Kill all the sorcerer tribe. Kill. 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 Haha. How satisfying. How can the sorcerer tribe compete with us demons? With such strength, how dare they say that they are going to treat us as snacks? How ridiculous. In a certain sorcerer tribe, the 10 golden crows looked at the sorcerer tribe struggling in the true sun fire and laughed wildly. Their words were full of contempt. However, they, who had been bewitched by Kundi, did not know that they had the power of a golden immortal of the great all-embracing heaven, while the Wu tribe below them was just a group of primordial unity golden immortals. Bullying the weak, Daluo Jinxian killed Tai Jinxian. What was there to be proud of? Seeing that the sorcerer tribe was so weak, the 10 golden crows became more confident. They continued to fly forward, looking for new sorcerer tribes and repeating their actions. In this way, the 10 golden crows relied on the power of Daluo Jinxian to run amok and destroy more than a dozen sorcerer tribes. The 10 golden crows' wild actions naturally attracted the attention of the sorcerer tribe experts. Hey! How dare you bully my people, feathered beast! Take my staff! Just as the 10 golden crows were looking for the sorcerer tribes, a huge peach staff suddenly appeared in the void and struck towards them. It was the great sorcerer of the Huda tribe, Kwafu. How dare you, barbarian! How dare you humiliate me like this? Hearing the words, feathered beast, the 10 golden crows' eyes instantly turned red. Terrifying killing intent filled the air, and the true sun fire swept out to meet the peach staff. Chapter 264. Rumble. Terrifying power spread out, shattering the void and causing pitch-black cracks to appear. Kwafu was not the real Daluo Jinxian, so the 10 golden crows were no match for him. The mahogany staff smashed the primordial fire of the sun and hit the 10 golden crows. With a bang, the giant golden crows shattered and turned back into 10 golden crows. Hiss! This barbarian is so powerful. Brothers, set up the formation. In the sky, the 10 golden crows knew that their opponent was far more powerful than them. He was the most powerful enemy they had ever met. Without hesitation, they used their most powerful means. 10 suns burning sky formation, start. With a roar, the 10 golden crows flapped their wings and formed an inexplicable formation in the sky. They attracted the power of the sun and enveloped Kwafu. The 10 suns burning sky formation was a congenital formation created by Di Jun and Fushi for the 10 golden crows. Once the formation was activated, it could attract the power of the sun to burn the sky and boil the sea, destroying the world. Even if Daluo Jinxian fell into the formation, he would be in danger of being burned if he could not escape in time. However, Kwafu was different. As a grand wizard and a descendant of Pangu, Daluo Jinxian was no match for him. You are courting death. You are the son of the celestial emperor, the elves of the sun, and born gods. Instead of benefiting the untainted land, you have killed hundreds of millions of creatures here. You deserve to die. Kwafu shook his body and showed his true form of a grand wizard. Standing on the ground, his power was endless. No matter how fierce the primordial fire of the sun was, it could not hurt him at all. However, the 10 suns burning sky formation was really powerful. Although it could not hurt Kwafu, it trapped him firmly in the formation. He could not break free and hurt the 10 golden crows. You have committed such a big crime. Everyone in the untainted land has the right to kill you. Your father's face has been completely disgraced by you. Trapped in the formation, Kwafu used all his means but could not break free. He could not help but curse the 10 golden crows in the sky. Barbarian of the wizard tribe, you, at this moment, the 10 golden crows understood that they had made a huge mistake. Therefore, he was speechless in the face of Kwafu's accusation. Brothers, kill him. Let's join forces to kill this barbarian of the shaman race before returning to the heavenly court to ask for father's forgiveness. With Imperial Father's ability, he will definitely be able to solve this problem for us. Now that things had come to this, there was no point in regretting. Now, even if the 10 gold crows wanted to leave, Kwafu would not agree. He would definitely kill them here to avenge the dead Wu tribesmen. Alright, let's kill him first. This shaman barbarian's words are so unpleasant to hear. Killing him will help us vent our anger. Having made up their minds, the 10 golden crows opened their mouths and spat out their innate origin, activating the 10 suns burning sky formation with all their might. This caused the formation's operation to speed up, causing it to undergo many changes. Boom! 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 Inside the matrix, the primordial fire of the sun surged even more violently. The horrifying power spread out, igniting the void and turning it into a destructive storm, burning toward Kwafu. In that instant, nothing existed anymore, everything burned into nothingness. Haha! Good timing. While laughing, Kwafu stomped the ground hard. Instantly, the mountains and rivers within hundreds of millions of miles trembled together. Magnificent and heavy power gathered together, forming a yellow light curtain around Kwafu, blocking the raging primordial fire of the sun. The 10 gold crows were not surprised that the primordial fire of the sun could not hurt Kwafu. After all, he was Daluo Jinxian. It would be strange if they could kill him so easily. Kill! A golden mirror appeared in the middle of the formation, shining like the sun. Driven by the 10 golden crows, it shot out beams of divine light of the sun toward Kwafu. This was the divine sun mirror, an ultimate primordial spiritual treasure bred by the sun star. It had always been kept by Di Jun. It was not until the 10 gold crows were born that he took it out and gave it to the 10 gold crows to protect themselves. Kwafu was not afraid. He swung his peachwood staff and swept it forward. Tremendous power poured out, extinguishing the divine sunlight that was surging toward him. Then, Kwafu stuck the peachwood staff into the ground. With a flash of green light, the peachwood staff grew in the wind. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a towering peach tree, supporting the whole matrix. Its roots danced and took root in the primordial fire of the sun, absorbing its power and weakening the matrix. Unfortunately, although Kwafu's idea was good, the 10 suns burning sky matrix was supported by the sun star, and its power was endless. No matter how much power the peachwood staff absorbed, it could not shake its foundation. For a moment, the two sides were in a stalemate. Brother, this blockhead is so strong. His power is connected to the ley lines of the earth. Standing on the ground, he is invincible. If this continues, I'm afraid we'll be exhausted to death by him. Kwafu was Daluo Jinxian, so he had the confidence to continue. But the 10 gold crows were not. When their power was exhausted, they would not be able to maintain the matrix. When the matrix was exhausted, their death would come. Therefore, seeing the situation in a stalemate, the gold crows could not help but panic. We can't go on like this. Since the barbarian is connected to the ground, let's drag him into the air. Let's see if he dies. Suddenly, the youngest gold crow suggested. Okay. Okay. That's a good idea. Little 10, you are so smart. When the other 9 gold crows heard that, they all thought that it was a good idea and praised the youngest gold crow. Then, they used their strength together to drive the 10 suns burning sky matrix. They swept up tens of thousands of feet of flames and flew up with Kwafu, trying to drag him into the air. However, trapping Kwafu was already the limit of the 10 suns burning sky matrix. It was impossible to lift him up. Moreover, the body of a wizard contained a large amount of connate turbid chi. It was extremely heavy and could not be moved easily. Therefore, the 10 gold crows used all their strength and their faces turned red, but they could not drag Kwafu at all. Haha. You little birds want to pull me up? Ridiculous. Do you really think you are Di Jun Tai? You've completely disgraced your father and uncle. At this moment, Kwafu also felt that something was wrong. His words were extremely sharp, and he was very different from his honest appearance before. Obviously, Kwafu also fell into the trap. Compared to the demon race, it was easier to control the wizard race. Ah! At this moment, the 10 gold crows were about to go crazy. The true sun fire on their bodies whooshed out, and they wanted to swallow Kwafu alive. How dare you, wizard race! Don't you dare hurt our prince! Seeing that it was almost time, Juandi finally let Defeng find this place. Prince, don't worry. I'm coming. Seeing that the situation was critical, Defeng did not have time to chat. He hurriedly used his magic and blew a gust of wind toward Kwafu and the Matrix. Great Gale was an innate god born from the innate wind origin. In the Tao of Wind, Great Gale had extraordinary achievements. Chapter 265. The 10 golden crows could not move Kwafu. The 9 heavens astral wind whizzed out and turned into a whirlwind. It wrapped Kwafu up and lifted him into the air. Oh no! Kwafu knew something was wrong when he saw himself leaving the ground. He quickly recalled his peachwood staff and swung it forward with all his strength. The Wu tribe had the best physical body in the primitive world. Naturally, their strength was also the best. Under Kwafu's staff, the void shattered, the 5 elements were destroyed, and yin and yang ceased to exist. Earth, fire, water, and wind intertwined. The destructive aura surged and shattered the 9 heavens astral wind. However, how could the 10 golden crows let Kwafu return to the ground when they finally lifted him up? Seizing the opportunity, the 10 golden crows activated the divine sun mirror and hit the ground. Without Kwafu's suppression, how could the surrounding mountains and rivers resist the power of the golden crows? In an instant, tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers were turned into ashes. Without the support of the earth, Kwafu's strength fell sharply. He could no longer resist the surging sun primordial fire. In just a moment, his body was burned black. He was in a sorry state. After all, he was Daluo Jinxian. How could he die so easily? The sun primordial fire only damaged Kwafu's physical body. It could not hurt him at all. It was far from enough to kill him. Barbarian of the Wu tribe, how dare you be so arrogant? Seeing Kwafu's sorry state, the 10 golden crows were very proud. They turned to Defeng and said, Defeng, stop this barbarian so that we can use our secret treasures to kill him. As the sons of the celestial emperor, the 10 golden crows were not short of treasures. However, they were obsessed with Kundi and did not think about it. Now that they had calmed down, they thought about their own treasures. Okay. Defeng took out a long green banner and waved it at Kwafu. The long banner was called the Innate Wind Banner. It was Defeng's spiritual treasure. It was an upper-grade innate treasure that could release innate divine wind. The innate divine wind whizzed out and turned into green chains, locking Kwafu firmly. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not move. Your Highness, do it quickly. Kwafu's strength is extraordinary. I can't hold on for long. After suppressing Kwafu, Defeng hurriedly shouted to the 10 golden crows. They were both Daluo Jinxian. Without the help of the 10 sun-burning sky formation, it was hard to say who would be the one suppressing the other. Heh, go die. Sneering, the golden crow took out a silver needle and stabbed it toward Kwafu. Above the silver needle, the connate Taiyin origin chi flowed. It released a shocking chill that seemed to be able to freeze the world. This was the Taiyin Ice Soul Needle, a supreme treasure created by Shiha using the essence of the Taiyin star. It contained the Tao of Taiyin and could freeze all things and kill all life. Such a treasure could only be refined once every 100 million years. It was a rare treasure in the primordial world that could kill Daluo Jinxian. In front of the Taiyin Ice Soul Divine Needles, the physical body that the sorcerer tribe was so proud of had completely lost its function. It was like a rag that was easily pierced through. In an instant, Kwafu's expression froze. His body stiffened, and he was frozen into an ice sculpture. A terrifying connate chill spread out and wiped out all life in his body. Then, the connate chill spread up and wiped out Kwafu's connate indestructible true spirit. Just like that, a grand sorcerer, a powerhouse who dominated the primordial world, silently died here. Your Highness, Kwafu has been killed. The sorcerer tribe will not let this matter rest. We should leave as soon as possible to avoid any accidents. The land was the territory of the sorcerer tribe. If they killed the grand sorcerer here, when the sorcerer tribe experts arrived, they would not be able to escape. No one could save them. The heavenly court. They had to return to the heavenly court immediately. Only by returning to the heavenly court could they be considered safe. However, before they could do anything, a black arrow suddenly shot out from the void. It directly pierced through the 3 golden crows and killed them on the spot. Ah, third brother, third brother. Who? This sudden scene left everyone dumbfounded. After a while, the golden crows finally reacted to what had happened and roared with their eyes wide open. On the other side, De Feng's face turned pale. The 3 golden crows were dead. The son of the celestial emperor was dead in front of him. This was a big deal. Ho-yi, you deserve to die. The golden crows could not recognize the origin of the black arrow, but De Feng, who had dealt with the sorcerer tribe for many years, could recognize the origin of this object. That arrow was the Xianming arrow. It was the personal treasure of the grand sorcerer, Ho-yi. The identity of the person was self-evident. He was one of the strongest sorcerer tribe, Ho-yi. Since the establishment of the demon tribe, Ho-yi's hands were stained with the blood of countless demon tribe members. Even several demon gods had died in his hands. He was the strongest among the Daluo. He was the top Daluo Jinxian below the sage-to-be. Ho-yi's name was enough to make countless demon tribe tremble in fear. Puff! Another black arrow appeared and pierced through the 4 golden crows, taking away their lives. This was Ho-yi's response to De Feng. So what if you are the son of the celestial emperor? How dare you kill the grand sorcerer of the sorcerer tribe? Ah! Bastard! De Feng felt like he was going crazy. In front of him, another son of the celestial emperor had died. What was Ho-yi doing? Was he forcing the demon tribe to wage a full-scale war against the sorcerer tribe? Now that things had come to this, De Feng knew that even if he returned to the heavenly court, Di Jun would not let him go. It was better to fight to the death and fight for a chance of survival for the little golden crows. He could ask for Di Jun's forgiveness and resurrect him in the future. Ho-yi, I'll fight you to the death. With a decision in his heart, De Feng burned everything he had in exchange for unparalleled power and charged toward Ho-yi. Ho-yi was a figure on the level of one of the 10 great demon gods. He was far from what De Feng could compare to. If he wanted to save someone from his hands, he could only fight with his life. Your Highness, return to the heavenly court quickly. His Majesty is there. He will definitely protect you. While charging toward Ho-yi, De Feng did not forget to remind him. However, before he could finish speaking, another 2 golden crows were shot to death by Ho-yi. Go! With a roar of grief and indignation, De Feng woke up the little golden crows who were in a daze. Go quickly. Run to the heavenly court. At this moment, the golden crows finally knew fear. The tragic deaths of their 4 brothers made them angry, but at the same time, they also felt a strong sense of fear. Since they were going to die, what about them? With a shudder, the golden crows hurriedly flapped their wings and flew quickly toward the heavenly court. Run, run quickly. Run to the heavenly court and let Father avenge them. At this moment, this was the only thought left in the golden crows' minds. Humph. You still want to escape? You must be dreaming. You killed the grand sorcerer of the sorcerer tribe, destroyed the untainted land, and killed hundreds of millions of living beings. All of these sins can only be repaid with your lives. Seeing that the golden crows were about to escape, Ho-yi said coldly. Chapter 266. The Xianming arrow was the most precious treasure of the Xianming tribe. It was made from the bones of the Xianming ancestral witch. There were only 10 arrows in the world. The Xianming ancestral witch was the rain ancestral witch, the winter god, and the north god. He was in charge of the ice and snow of the primitive world. Therefore, the Xianming arrow made from the bones of the Xianming clan was one of the best-earned treasures in the world. It was also the nemesis of the golden crows. Anyone who touched it would die. Ho-E was different from Kwafu. He was a witch born from Pangu's blood. He was the first witch. He was of noble birth and was far from ordinary Khanate god-fiends. Even an ordinary sage-to-be might not be his match, let alone Dafeng, who was not even ranked in the demon race. Scram! After sending Dafeng flying with a punch, Ho-E continued to draw his bow and shoot 3 arrows in the direction of the Golden Crow's escape. Swoosh! 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 Amidst whooshing sounds, 3 more Golden Crows were killed by Ho-E. Ho-E, the god of archery, never missed. Ho-Ye's arrows had surpassed the level of skill and reached the level of Dao. If he went one step further, he would be like Feng Zichen, who established the Khanate sword Dao. He could imprint the Dao of archery into the origin of heaven and earth, turning the acquired Dao into the Khanate Dao. Such an expert could easily kill the little Golden Crows. Not to mention, he was holding the nemesis of the Golden Crows, the Xianming arrow. Today, the 10 Golden Crows were doomed. No, 7 Golden Crows died tragically. Dafeng had already expected his end. He could not help but despair. Ho-E, let's die together. After a while, seeing Ho-E aiming his bow at the remaining Golden Crows, Dafeng gritted his teeth and rushed to Ho-Ye's side. He exploded. It's useless. Ho-E stood in the center of the explosion and did not move. He allowed the power of Dafeng's explosion to hit his body. At this moment, the powerful physical body of the sorcerer tribe was fully displayed on his body. Grand Witch Kwafu, I've avenged you. With that thought in mind, Ho-E loosened his grip on the bow. Suddenly, 3 black arrows shot out. Their targets were the remaining 3 Golden Crows. My son! In the numinous sky hall, Di-Jun suddenly screamed and vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, under the panicked gazes of the demons in the hall, he suddenly disappeared. The 10 Golden Crows had accidents one after another. The secrets of heaven that had been concealed by Zhuan-Ti could no longer be hidden from Di-Jun's perception and were detected by him. That was why the current scene was happening. The Xianming arrow was extremely fast. A black light flashed by and the 2 Golden Crows died on the spot. Second brother, on the other side, the Golden Crow couldn't help but cry out sorrowfully when he saw that another of his 2 remaining younger brothers had been killed. At the same time, he also noticed that there was a black arrow coming from behind him and his 10th brother. Little brother, you have to survive. Imperial father, please take care of Imperial mother. After taking one last look at the sun star, the Golden Crow ignited its origin and drove the sun god mirror. It was like a small sun as it collided with the Xianming arrow that was shot towards the Golden Crows, blocking the fatal blow for him. You have to survive. With that last sentence, the Golden Crow completely disappeared from the world, leaving nothing behind. Big brother, this scene made the Golden Crow's eyes almost pop out of their sockets. He wanted to immediately turn back and fight Ho-E, but he couldn't. The Golden Crow used his life in exchange for a chance to escape. He couldn't let the Golden Crow's sacrifice be in vain. He had to survive and escape back to the heavenly court to avenge his brothers. Resisting the urge to turn back, the 10 Golden Crows used all their strength to activate the rainbow transformation technique and flew back to the heavenly court. He was afraid that once he turned back, he couldn't help but fight Ho-E to the death. This Golden Crow is quite decisive. However, he still has to die. Ho-E called back the Xianming arrow, drew the longbow, and shot an arrow. Let's see who can save you this time. Ho-E said as he put down the Ho-E bow. My life is over. Under this arrow, the 10 Golden Crows only felt that no matter where they were, they couldn't dodge this arrow. There was really no escape and no way to avoid it. The shadow of death uncontrollably crept into their hearts. And just as the Xianming arrow was about to hit the 10 Golden Crows, a golden figure suddenly appeared in front of the 10 Golden Crows and grabbed the Xianming arrow. At the critical moment, Di-Jun finally arrived. In the end, the 10 Golden Crows weren't fated to die. With the protection of the sun star, even though the Golden Crows had killed so many people, they still had a chance to live. The 10 golden crows, 9 out of 10, just happened to meet their fate and meet the will of the heavens. My poor children, looking at the 8 golden crow corpses on the ground, Jun seemed to be crying and laughing at the same time. He was clearly extremely sad. Wah! Father, Big Brother, and the others are all dead. In order to save me, Big Brother even burned his origin and returned to the embrace of the sun star. Nothing is left of him. Father, you have to avenge Big Brother and the others. Seeing Jun, the 10 golden crows' fear was finally released. They couldn't help but cry out to Jun, "Don't cry. You are the crown prince of the demon race. How can you cry?" Looking at the remaining 10 golden crows, Jun said sternly. It was all because he spoiled the golden crows too much that today's disaster was caused. In Jun's heart, he really regretted it. Good, very good. Grand Magus of the wizard race, archer god of the primordial world, you are really very good. With a wave of his sleeve, Jun sent the 10 golden crows back to the heavenly court. He turned his head and said to Ho-E. At the same time, he exerted a little strength in his hand and crushed the Xianming arrow into pieces. I don't deserve such praise from your majesty. I am just eliminating evil for the primordial world. Since Jun appeared, Ho-Yi's body couldn't help but tense up. It was as if he had met the great Tao, and a great sense of fear arose in his heart. However, the pride of the wizard race didn't allow him to bow down to the enemy. Even if he died, he would die standing. Therefore, he sneered at Jun, "Your majesty didn't teach your son well, so that the emperor's son created chaos in the primordial world and killed hundreds of millions of creatures. I wonder how your majesty is going to explain to the living beings in the primordial world. I killed a great evil in the primordial world and saved the people from the fire. I wonder how your majesty is going to reward me." As the Lord of Heaven and Earth, Jun naturally had to be responsible for all living beings in the world. There was nothing wrong with Ho-E asking him this question. "Humph, you have a sharp tongue." With a cold smile, Jun didn't answer Ho-Yi's question. Because Ho-E was right. It was all the golden crow's fault. Killing the golden crows was not only not wrong, but also meritorious. If Jun hadn't come here and affected the operation of heaven and earth, merit would have fallen into Ho-Yi's body at this moment as a reward. However, Ho-E killed Jun's 9 sons. He couldn't wait to cut Ho-E alive. How could he reward him? "How can I forgive you for killing my 9 sons? Pay with your life for my poor son." Jun stretched out his hand and grabbed Ho-E. Chapter 267. Just like when Ho-E killed the 3-legged crow, the 3-legged crow had no power to fight back. Jun wanted to kill Ho-E, and Ho-E also had no power to fight back. Jun's hand was not big, only the size of an ordinary person, but in Ho-Yi's eyes, it was extremely huge, as if it covered the sky and completely blocked his vision. In his eyes, there was nothing but Jun's palm. Fear, incomparable fear. At this moment, under the pressure of Jun, a strong fear rose in Ho-Yi's heart. His future was dark, and all hope of life had been wiped out. He had already seen the end of his death. Under this palm, he would die without a doubt. Looking at the palm getting closer and closer, Ho-Yi's heart was full of unwillingness. But no matter how hard he struggled, no matter how hard he tried, his body did not seem to belong to him. He could not move at all. He could only watch the palm press down and wait for the arrival of death. "Hey! Jun, you've gone too far." Suddenly, the void in front of Ho-E began to expand infinitely. In an instant, it was already an endless distance. At the same time, Ho-Yi's body was also retreating rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he was out of the range of Jun's palm. "Jiang, you want to protect him?" Looking at the figure that suddenly appeared in front of him, Jun suppressed his anger and said coldly. The one who saved Ho-E was the leader of the witch tribe, ancestor Magus Jiang, Pengu's eldest son, the master of space, and the top great medium in the untainted land. Only he, who was known as the fastest in the untainted land, could save Ho-E from Jun at the critical moment. In this way, the two most powerful people in the untainted land gathered here. The Lord of Heaven and the Lord of Earth. Jun, your son created chaos in the untainted land and was killed by Ho-E. It was completely his own fault. You can't blame others. You are unreasonable. You have to use this reason to kill the great magus of our tribe, Pangu's descendant. Are you bullying the witch tribe? After saving Ho-E, Jiang breathed a sigh of relief and blamed Jun. He killed 9 of my sons. Looking at Jiang, Jun said with hatred. So what? They are just 9 feathered beasts. How can they compare to the nobility of Pangu's descendants? When your son killed the grand magi of the sorcerer tribe, their deaths were already set in stone. No one can save them no matter where they go. It had been many years since the last grand sorcerer of the Wu tribe had died. Today, Kwafu was dead. It was imaginable how angry Jiang was. You're courting death. As soon as he finished speaking, Jun took out the He-Tu and Luo Shu, performed the Tao of the Khanate 9 palaces, and attacked Jiang. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Jiang grabbed at the void. Suddenly, the void completely disappeared. Even the great path no longer existed. Everything had lost its meaning. When space moved forward, time was born. Therefore, without time, space would at most stagnate. But without space, time lost its meaning. Space was the foundation of all existence. Without space, the untainted land would have no basis to exist. How would it be different from the chaos? As the master of space, Jiang's power could be imagined. It was just that the 12 ancestors of sorcerers were too famous, so his fame was overshadowed. As a result, he was not famous in the untainted land. He was far less famous than Jun and Tai. But this did not affect Jiang's power at all. Not to mention other things, Jiang's identity as the eldest son of Pangu was destined to be powerful. In an instant, everything lost its meaning. The He-Tu and Luo Shu also lost their basis. They trembled in the air for a moment and returned to Jun's hands. Clang! Above the sky, a long bell rang, suppressing the universe and endless time and space. The Khanate 8 trigrams manifested and the 8 trigrams turned, deducing the principles of the universe. Tai and Fushi had arrived. Then, the demon saints and demon gods of the demon tribe descended one by one under the lead of Kunpeng. On the other side, various laws manifested. The river of time flowed slowly, and the great path of the 5 elements descended. The 12 ancestors of sorcerers had arrived. Behind them were the grand sorcerers of the sorcerer tribe. At this moment, all the higher-ups of the sorcerer and demon tribes appeared here. The atmosphere was on the verge of exploding. It's going to pierce through the sky. Such a huge change had happened in the primordial world. Naturally, many great mystical abilities experts would notice it. At that moment, they hurriedly closed the mountain gate and ordered their disciples not to go out, for fear of being involved in the calamity and turning into ashes. The sorcerer and demon tribes were too strong. Once they fought, even the sage-to-be could not protect themselves. How could the powerful figures not be afraid? Big brother, let's fight. Tai silently came to Jun's side and said. There were no unnecessary words. One sentence had already represented his determination. Apart from Jun and Shihi, the Donghuang Tai was the most sad about the death of the Golden Crow. He had regarded the little Golden Crows as his successors. But they had died, in the hands of the sorcerer tribe. How could Tai bear it? New and old hatred surged in his heart. Tai's heart was filled with killing intent. He wanted to destroy the sorcerer tribe. Go back. At this moment, Jun calmed down and ordered everyone. What? Go back? Big brother, you, Tai, who was about to attack, was stunned when he heard Jun's words. I said, go back. After that, ignoring the puzzled expressions of Tai and the others, Jun waved his sleeves and turned to leave, returning to the heavenly court. Jun left without looking back. No matter how unwilling Tai was, he could not continue to stay here. He could only glare at Ho-E and leave with Di-jun. Seeing this, the other demons looked at each other and left as well. The sorcerer tribe did not stop the demons from leaving, because there was no need. At the Sage-to-be realm, unless there was absolute suppression, if one party wanted to run, the other party would definitely not be able to stop them. If the demons wanted to leave, the sorcerer tribe could not stop them. It was better to let them go, so that they would not be annoyed. Fellow Daoist, don't be angry. Fellow Daoist, you have no choice. If we really start an all-out war with the sorcerer tribe, with our strength, we may not be a match for them. Moreover, we are fighting the sorcerer tribe on land. We have no advantage at all. We are completely at a disadvantage, and our chances of winning are even lower. On the way, seeing that Tai was still angry, Fushi stepped forward to persuade him. Fellow Daoist, I understand Big Brother's painstaking efforts. He is just angry. The heavenly court, shaking his head, Tai was in an inexplicable mood. Since the establishment of the heavenly court, he had experienced too many things against his will. They were no longer the same as before. Fellow Daoist, don't worry. The sorcerer tribe will not be rampant for long. After so many years of hard work, the Zhoshing formation has been completed. 365 heavenly Zhoshing formation have also been gathered. We will definitely be able to activate the full power of the Zhoshing formation. In that case, the sorcerer tribe has nothing to fear. Clearly, Fushi had great confidence in the Zhoshing formation. Chapter 268. The Zhoshing formation could be said to be Fushi's life's work. He had poured everything he had into it. Among the demons, no one could compare to him in the study of the Zhoshing formation. This was because the Zhoshing formation was deduced by him and Di-jun through the combination of Zhoshing. However, in terms of the Tao of deduction, Di-jun could not compare to Fushi. Therefore, the main body of the entire Zhoshing formation was created by Fushi. Di-jun only played the role of filling in the gaps. Fushi's ability to comprehend the connate 8 trigrams had something to do with this experience. Exploring the secrets of the Zhoshing formation had allowed him to gain too much. These were the principles of the great Tao that could be used for a lifetime. It was with these gains that Fushi had accumulated far more than his peers. Only then could he understand the principles of the universe and comprehend the connate 8 trigrams. In Fushi's heart, the Zhoshing formation was the number one formation in the primordial world. Its power was endless. If it was fully operated, it could even defeat a saint. With this array, it was enough to be the foundation of the demon clan. What was the sorcerer clan to them? In the first battle between the witch race and the demons were defeated. It was not that the Zhoshing formation was not good enough, but that the demons were not good enough. In terms of the strength of the demons at that time, there were only dozens of Daluo Jinxian. They could not even gather the heavenly cycle star gods. How could they activate the Zhoshing formation? However, it was different now. After countless years of development, there were no less than 1,000 grand Luo demon celestials of the demon race. 365 heavenly cycle demon celestials had gathered and could fully activate the massive heavenly cycle stellar formation. The witch race was no longer a threat. Fellow Daoist, let's wait a few more days. When fellow Daoist Shiha comes out of seclusion and takes charge of the lunar star and completes the Zhoshing formation, it will be time for us to fight the witch race. Shiha's seclusion caused the Zhoshing formation to be incomplete. It was missing an important part, the lunar star. Therefore, Di-jun did not dare to rashly start a war with the witch race. That was why he returned to the heavenly court. The demons have gone too far. How dare you kill the great shaman of my shaman tribe? I will not let you off. In the Panga Hall, the atmosphere was solemn. All the ancestral shamans looked furious and murderous. In particular, the ancestor of Sorcerer Hoodoo, the Mother of Earth who was known for her mercy in the untainted land, no longer had a trace of warmth on her face. Her face was murderous, and her eyes were full of murderous intent. She could not wait to kill her way to the heavenly court. It was hard to imagine that the Lady of Earth, who was loved by the world, would have such a terrifying appearance. It was no wonder that Kwafu was the great shaman of the Huda tribe and a junior that Huda valued very much. Now he was killed by the demon tribe. How could Huda not be angry? That's right. We didn't go and find trouble with the demon clan. We were already merciful. That demon clan actually dared to provoke our shaman clan. They really don't know what's good for them. Inform the clansmen to prepare for war from today onwards. 1,000 years later, we will set off for the heavenly court. I'd like to see if the demons will abandon their foundation and avoid the battle. Dijiang nodded and said. His words were full of the matter of the golden crow burning Kwafu to death. He did not mention the matter of Hou shooting the golden crow at all. That's right. Seeing that Dijiang agreed, everyone said in unison. Then, everyone got up and walked out of the hall. They wanted to return to the tribe and prepare for war. By the way, how's the geomancy map of the Untainted Land going? The geomancy map of the Untainted Land was a major event related to the inheritance of the shaman clan. If it could be completed before the war of shamans and demons, it would definitely increase the strength of the shaman clan. In this way, the chances of winning would be much higher when attacking the heavenly court. The rest of the places are almost completed. Only the western land was affected by the war of immortals and demons in the ancient times. The spiritual veins were all broken, causing the land to be more unstable. It is very different from before. If we want to draw the geomancy map of the western land of the Untainted Land, we need to calculate the earth veins again. It will take a lot of time. I'm afraid it will be difficult to complete it in a short time. After thinking for a while, Huda said. After all, too much time had passed. The Untainted Land had been through several wars and had changed greatly. It was far more difficult to draw the geomancy map than imagined. Then forget it. Let's wait until the war is over. The war between the liches and demons was imminent. Now, there was no time to continue drawing the geomancy map of the Untainted Land. By the way, Hou killed Di Jun's 9 sons. Di Jun will definitely not tolerate him. During this time, let him stay in the Pangu Hall to cultivate in case he is ambushed by the demons. Suddenly, Dijiang said to Ancestral Witch Xian Ming. That's right. This was the right thing to do. Although the Ancestral Witch Xian Ming said it lightly, Di Jun was not to be trifled with. The world is going to change. Looking at the sky, Feng Zichen sighed. Although the liches and demons had left, the influence was not over. As if having a premonition that something big was going to happen, the sky darkened. The entire Untainted Land was filled with an oppressive aura, making people breathless. All tribes, return to the ancestral land quickly. No delay. Also, from today onwards, the ancestral land is sealed. No one can enter but no one can leave. Feng Zichen waved his hand, and a purple light curtain appeared, enveloping the East Sea and preventing anyone from going out. Not only the human clan, but all over the Untainted Land, as long as there was a Daluo Jinxian in charge, similar things would happen. Everyone in the Untainted Land knew how powerful the liches and demons were. As long as they were not fools, they would understand that if the two clans fought, the consequences would be very serious. If they were not careful, they would be in danger of being exterminated. How could they not prepare early? Above the heavenly court, in the Lingshao Hall. Kundi. You deserve to die. At this moment, how could Di Jun not understand that his son had been schemed against by others? Otherwise, before the 10 golden crows were in trouble, he should have sensed it immediately, instead of after the accident. In the Untainted Land, only the 6 saints had the ability to hide from him. The 3 pure ones were arrogant and would not do such a dirty thing. Fuxi was one of the 3 emperors of the heavenly court, and Nuwa had no reason to attack. In that case, the only ones who met the conditions were Zhuan Ti. Coincidentally, the 2 of them had a grudge against Tai. They had every reason to do so. After destroying the Magi, I will definitely destroy the Western sect. Di Jun clenched his fists and swore secretly. Now, although he was not a match for the saint could not do anything to him. Otherwise, he would not have attacked the 10 golden crows. when Jun defeated the Magi and unified the primordial world. At that time, he would be the true Lord of heaven and earth. He would gather supreme luck and become the 8th saint of the primordial world. Moreover, he would be the most powerful saint. He might not be weaker than the Tao ancestor. At that time, it would be easy to destroy the Western sect. As for the Western sect, it was the foundation of the saints who received the commission. Once destroyed, there would be no possibility of their great ambition being fulfilled. Under the backlash of the heavenly Tao, even if Zhuan Ti did not die, his outcome would definitely be extremely miserable. Perhaps, they would lose their saint positions because of this. It was not a secret in the primordial world that Zhuan Ti's saint position was unstable. All the great mystical abilities knew about it. After all, when they made their great wish, the great mystical abilities were all watching. With everyone's wisdom, they only needed to think for a moment to understand what a great ambition was all about. Wasn't it just borrowing merit from the heavenly Tao? However, how could it be so easy to borrow something from the heavenly Tao? From the moment they received the quintessential commission and became saints, the Western sect had become their most fatal weakness. As long as they destroyed the Western sect, Zhuan Ti would most likely lose his saint position under the backlash of the heavenly Tao. That was the conclusion that Jun, Tai, Fuxi, and the others had come to in recent years after studying the saints. It had been so many years since Zi Shao preached the Tao. Everyone gradually figured out that the so-called saint might not be a realm, but a karmic position of heaven and earth. Chapter 269. According to the Tao ancestor, there were only 9 saints in the eldritch world. This was obviously abnormal. If saints were a realm, how could there only be 9? Shouldn't every great path be able to achieve Tao? Moreover, after the Daluo Jingxian, there was the primordial chaos Daluo Jingxian. This was a realm that could be compared to saints. Without the Hongmeng purple qi, anyone could reach this realm. None of those who could cultivate to become great divine arts were fools. With all these reasons added together, coupled with the title of Holy Birth, if they still could not guess the meaning of the Holy Birth, they would have lived in vain for so many years. Saint, this name already explained everything. It was not a realm, but a karmic position of heaven and earth, a karmic position that allowed one to entrust the heavenly way. After studying saint for so long, they did not find a way to become a saint. Instead, they found the weakness of Zhuan Ti. What a pity. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, in the eldritch world, gongs and drums shook the sky. Countless sorcerers gathered and rushed toward Mount Buzhou under the lead of 1,000 great sorcerers. The heavenly court was there. 1,000 great sorcerers were 1,000 Daluo Jingxian. This showed how powerful the sorcerers were. Are they going to fight? The movement of the sorcerers attracted many people's attention. This was a battle that would determine the ownership of the eldritch world. The winner would dominate the entire eldritch world and become the main character of heaven and earth. This battle concerned every living being in the eldritch world. Anyone with some ability would pay attention. Set up the array. While the sorcerers were rushing to Mount Buzhou, the heavenly court also moved. 3,000 demon gods walked out of the heavenly court and personally sat on the stars. They mobilized the primordial star system's origin to form the Zhouxing array. Among the 3,000 demon gods, there were 360 demon gods who were the most powerful. They held the heavenly cycle star banner and bathed in the heavenly cycle starlight, suppressing the eldritch world's main star. They were the heavenly cycle demon gods who could correspond to Zhouxing. Together with the 5 demi-saints of the demon race, there were 365 demon gods. 3,000 demon gods were 3,000 Daluo Jingxian. The number of Daluo Jingxian of the demon race was 3 times that of the sorcerers. However, this was not surprising. How many people were there in the demon race? All sentient beings could be considered as demons. With so many clansmen occupying the stars in the heavenly cycle, how could the demons not have many perfected golden immortals? What about the sorcerers? As the descendants of Pangu, they were of noble birth. But this also brought to the demons to the gods. This caused the number of sorcerer tribe members to be far less than the demon tribe members. It also caused the sorcerer tribe members to have fewer experts than the demon tribe members. Demon were to the demon race, Even if the demon clan had an overwhelming advantage in terms of numbers, it was still unknown who would win and who would lose. Kill. Under the lead of the Grand Shaman, the Shaman army charged into the Heavenly Court and engaged in a life-and-death battle with the demon army. Rumble. The heavens and earth were shaking. Zhouxing shone brightly. It was so bright that the entire eldritch world was covered in white. Countless starlight fell and divided the space into countless parts, creating battlefields one after another. Daluo Jinxian and Daluo Jinxian were fighting. Tai Jinxian and Tai Jinxian were fighting. They did not interfere with each other and fought fiercely. Di Jun, die. With a loud roar, the 12 grand sorcerers arrived. Without saying much, they charged towards Emperor Jun and the others. Humph, sorcerers, today is the day you die. Zhouxing formation, rise. Looking at the 12 ancestors of sorcerers, Di Jun snorted and activated the Zhouxing formation. In an instant, Zhouxing was connected. Vast and endless power descended. It stirred up endless killing intent and surged toward the 12 ancestors of sorcerers. What? How can this be? Under this power, the 12 ancestors of sorcerers seemed to have fallen into a quagmire and could not break free. At the same time, their physical bodies were melting and being destroyed by the starlight. Although this process was very slow, it did exist. After tens of millions of years, the physical bodies of the ancestors of sorcerers would be completely destroyed. This was under the condition that no external force interfered. However, how could Di Jun and the rest not take action? Formation. Without hesitation, the 12 ancestors of sorcerers immediately performed a secret technique and formed the 12 divine beings formation. For a moment, the divine beings formation surged out and destroyed everything. Haha. Di Jiang, do you still think it's the same as before? Now, there are countless demon immortals in the demon clan. Their strength far exceeds that of the sorcerer tribe. The power of the Zhouxing formation is fully activated. The sorcerer tribe is doomed. Looking at the 12 ancestral sorcerers, Emperor Jun revealed a complacent expression. He too and Luo Shu flew out from his body and suppressed the Taiyang and Taiyin stars respectively. Endless Dao patterns were derived to strengthen the cosmic constellation array. Hey, is that so? Di Jun, do you really think that the 12 divine beings formation in front of you is its full power? Di Jiang chuckled and said mysteriously. What? Hearing this, Di Jun's expression suddenly changed and he had a bad premonition. The 12 divine beings formation that almost destroyed the demon clan in the past was not at its strongest state. How could this be? Haha. Di Jun, come and see, how deep is the foundation of the sorcerer tribe. Ignoring Di Jun's changing expression, the 12 ancestors of sorcerers shouted in unison. Real body of Pangu, gather. At this moment it was as if the sound of Tao was roaring. It was vast and incomparable. The sound broke the seal of the Zhouxing formation and reverberated throughout the untainted land. Rumble. The entire untainted land was shaking. The great mediums and the saints were not surprised. How could this be, on Mount Kunlun, Mount Meru, and Mount Wanshou? The great mediums of untainted land stared at the trembling dojo, their eyelids twitching. This was something that had never happened before. In the past, no matter how fierce the untainted land was, the untainted divine mountains under their feet were always the same, firmly suppressing the surrounding earth veins. But now, they were shaking and stirring up endless wind and clouds. This was so unbelievable that it was like a myth. Wisps of inexplicable light emerged from all over the untainted land and flew towards the 12 ancestors of sorcerers. At the same time, in Panga's hall, an indescribable heart suddenly disappeared. It broke through the Zhouxing formation and descended to the center of the 12 ancestors of sorcerers. This was Panga's heart. It can't be. It can't be. How could the sorcerer tribe Seeing this, the three pure ones' eyelids twitched wildly. They vaguely understood something, and a bold idea came to their minds, causing them to exclaim in disbelief. They had completely lost the calmness that a saint should have. Hiss, it's incredible that the sorcerer tribe has such means.